Here we go. I believe we are all the way live right now. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the BTR stream. This is Free for All Friday. Once again, it's been a hell of a long time. I am so happy to be joined by so many people here right now. Guys, for every new person who is here, all the newcomers, don't forget all the new coomers. I'm gonna coom! I'm gonna goon! Okay, don't forget to subscribe right now to the greatest, most underrated channel, podcast, whatever you want to call it. We are here. We are queer. We are all the way live. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Get used to it.
Get fucking used to it.
Loud and proud.
BTR is not going anywhere. We are here to stay. We are here for the long haul, baby. So let me introduce some of the people. I mean, look, we have so many people to introduce right now. I'm not even seeing the Zoom monitor. I don't know what's going on. YouTube's giving some kind of an error, but I know we're live because this is the same thing that happened last time. So patreon.com. I'm going to talk about Patreon right now, but I cannot even move my mouse because I'm writing this whole shit on a fucking laptop, and this is why it's so hard to do this. Yes, do a shot.
Subscribe to
Here.
Patreon, I will take 2 shots. For every person that subscribes to the Patreon, I will take 2 shots of soju. Come on, guys. $5 a month.
Here we go.
Cough it up.
The mouse is back. The mouse is back. I can see my mouse now. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Patreon.com/breaktherules. You're going to go there right now. You're going to subscribe to our Patreon as maybe a $5 patron, and that gives you access to our super secret Percolator Discord area. Now, if you become a $20 patron, you are going to get one of my father's incredibly beautiful magnets. If you become a $30 patron, you are going to get Giovanni Panichetti's amazing prints from the TFW No GF series. Look at him go. And if you become a $50 patron, you, my friend, are going to get all of the above. And you are also, in addition to the first magnets, you are going to get a completely custom magnet. Whatever you want is going to be in that magnet. It's all for you, baby, because we love you and we want you to succeed. We want you to grow up from a little baby bird into a soaring eagle that's going to drop bombs of glory on the heads of the squirrels that are on the ground and the raccoons, and they're all going to be transformed.
Lev, have you been drinking? My
He's
God.
really paying attention here. Goddamn.
I love everybody.
Breathe.
I was cold, but now I am warm. Thanks to all of you guys. I drank some milk and I got cold for some reason, but now I got warm thanks to the warmth of everybody here. And we got
What
some...
raw milk does to a man.
Yeah, what raw milk does. What raw milk does to a man.
Come.
Oh God.
Nice.
Already to a good start.
fuck you.
Already.
Since
Okay.
it's Free for All Friday, one sec. Let me hear everybody's opinion on this, okay?
Okay, go for it.
But Mike Pence just announced that uniformed members of the U.S. Space Force, okay, will be called Guardians. So it's soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians.
Of the galaxy.
Yo,
I think Reddit
based.
moment.
Yeah.
Can I get a
It's-
vote for Mike
It's
Pence?
predictive programming, bros. It's happening again.
Let's play a
Let's
game,
find out
based or
Republic.
Bugman. Is this based or is it Bugman?
Yeah,
so I don't
that's
know.
my question
Based.
to you.
This is based because it's
To the
based
panel.
on Plato. It's based on Plato's Republic. That's what he's
Well, I don't
talking
know
about
because
here.
it's got
Or is it
it's
based on
obviously got
video
some cape
games?
shit going and
Yeah, it's probably
going there.
based on fucking Destiny.
What do you
That's
think,
literally
Mike?
what the characters
What
are
do you think,
called.
Mike?
He was
Pence?
just playing Destiny, and it went into his
Pence.
policy.
He's like,
Hey, this would be a really great idea.
yeah.
Isn't Bolsonaro a gamer? I mean, is it other realm of possibilities that Pence could be a gamer? I don't know.
It's entirely possible.
He's definitely a gamer.
There are lots of lightning subclasses.
Well,
in
he
that game.
hates women and minorities apparently. So of course.
I mean,
he's
we
a-
know
Yeah, and he
for a
likes
fact-
shocking, and you can do that in Destiny. You can definitely shock people, literally.
No.
I know for a fact that Donald Trump is a gamer. He's
Well,
the
Bar-
ultimate
Baron-
gamer.
They should make Baron the I don't know, the head of the Bureau of Gaming or something, or
Yeah,
hating women and
he's
minorities.
gonna give all the gamers the GFs that they require because he knows.
Oh, by the way, I would be
knows the pain.
remiss if I did not mention the 2 newcomers that we have over here. And we have Masked Bastard, great man in the memescape. Masked Bastard, I know you can only stay for an hour, so I want this first part of the stream to focus on you. The second
Hell yeah.
The second part of the stream, we are going to be focusing on Michael Scotto from 7 p.m. Michael's coming in here. He's going to be talking about the Great Conjunction in relation to astrology. It's going to be great time for all, and you guys can ask him all kinds of weird ass questions. So, and we also have someone else here, Brett. How do you say your last name, Brett?
Bernhoff, T silent.
Bernhoff, Brett Bernhoff. Thank you. I love, by the way, how that sounds, Brett Bernhoff. Two of the same letters. That really makes a name shine, I think. You know.
Thank
So, Brett, can you also tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a self-taught web dev, a curious person, and I'm here to participate because I've been watching your show for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months now, and I appreciate the content.
Oh,
Yeah, I find it.
Nice.
It is an
you.
a
absolute.
sweetheart.
It is a stud program. Let me tell you. I feel like the queen of the ball right now, getting to hang with the gents.
The belle
You
of
too
the ball.
could live the dream.
Indeed.
Like, parasocial relationships just don't exist for me. Like, everybody is attainable, everybody's reachable. This is a new era, son.
Hell yeah.
You could get a hold of anybody. Never ever take no for an answer. Just keep knocking on doors.
Knocking on heaven's door. By the way,
Yes.
Brett, how did you find BTR?
That's funny you ask. I have a certain technique I use for basically monitoring the internet for content, and it's funny because your show comes up so many times for so many different keywords. It's I keep finding your show with this technique I use, so I just keep subscribing to it or watching.
Sir,
it
are you a
subscribe.
Fed?
Yeah,
Yeah, right. You're starting to
Guys,
glow a
ha-
little
ha-
bit there.
having a fan on the stream is like the modern day version of fuck a fan. I feel like.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh no. Well, we
No,
had
that's
the
still
e-girl stream the
happening,
other week.
dude.
Are you
Yeah,
sure
that's-
it's not just a meet and greet? This is just a meet and greet. Nothing sexual.
Not a
For
sucking
sure,
fuck.
modern
There's
day
a meet and
fuck a
greet.
fan is
But
just
this-
fuck a
This is not
fan.
a meeting.
But that does bring like a legitimate question though that James brought up, is there a distinction between the celebrity is sort of like a passe, hopefully a dead thing soon. Not that I want to say killing celebrities in Minecraft never mind. But there's a legitimate question. Not to say that we should destroy Hollywood and put them up against a Minecraft wall, but anyways, is there a distinction between like the content creator, let's say, and the audience, or is it that we have to live in a time where there really is no distinction, and really the first time throughout human history, besides maybe the minstrel days of traveling minstrels, that this happened where people are interacting with the people? It's like it's not just meeting your heroes; it's now you hopefully can grind enough to the point where you can become the hero, or is
Yeah.
it that metrics are just going to destroy that very soon, like how YouTube is destroyed the concept of the YouTuber growing organically? Now it's all corporate bullshit. But
It's really
Best
funny
and the
that you
worst.
say that, Gio, because I'm now like in this in between phase where, I've had fans of Bad Filmcast that like asked to come on the podcast, and now and I'm still like also just like in the process of along the way like meeting people that like mean a lot to me. And I don't know if I can say it now that we're live on stream since Lev hasn't announced it yet, but there's a person that that's going to be coming on BTR that's like a huge hero of mine, and the fact that like he wanted me to come on the episode is like huge for me. So I'm in this like still weird in between phase right now.
I think we could say it. I mean, he's pretty much confirmed. We just have to find the date. So here we go, guys.
I didn't want to announce it for you because
No, well, here we go. This is going to be the big announcement. Are you all ready? Guess who's coming to BTR?
Ooh.
Charles fucking Carroll.
oh,
Charles.
Ooh, that's
Oh,
big stuff.
Nice.
Cool.
And Lev DM'd me the other day. He was like, "Yeah, Charles said, he wants you to come on because he's a fan of women posting L's." I'm like, "Holy shit!" And so that's like huge for me because MDE and 4chan pretty much shaped my sense of humor growing up. Unsurprisingly, of course.
I mean
But,
that L's, the women posting L's account, that is some of the funniest shit I've seen in a long time. Because
Thanks,
it's so
man.
perfect. It's so succinct. And
I didn't realize that was you. Good job.
so good.
That it
You,
says it
you
right
let,
there.
you let them walk into their own garbage. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to say anything. Yeah.
It's great.
Brilliant.
It's such an easy account to run. You just have to be good at curating. That's it.
Yep.
I'm essentially the modern day art curator.
How,
Yeah.
how many? Okay, how many men versus how many women send you these posts?
Oh.
I mean, a lot of accounts where like it could be either or because I don't look into the account, so it's like just a random AV and a random name. But I got a good amount from both. No one loves seeing women fail more than other women. So
True.
Just don't want to be that one.
Yeah,
It's
they
like
love
why
seeing those
we like
Ls.
watching people like just eat shit. You know what I mean? Just like fall
yeah,
and like shit like that. It's not me.
I'm
The
just
internet
surprised
has
how fast the
created this
accounts
sort
grow.
of.
It's I just hit 2 months yesterday. I think I made it October 17th, and I'm at like 126,000 in 2 months.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing.
Insane.
Atta boy. Good hustle. Good hustle.
Now I gotta start getting paid for it. I gotta figure out partnerships and shit with brands so I can be a sellout and have everyone hate me.
Yeah,
Hate me more than they already do.
Welcome to Women Posting L's, the TV show. Women posting L's, the bumper stickers. Women
Brought to you
posting
by
L's, the
Apple.
keychains.
Well, I'm actually talking with my friend tomorrow about merch because a good friend of mine, she said she was like, oh, I'll help you make the merch and shit like that. I'm like, good, because like the reason I haven't done merch yet, because people ask for bad film takes merch too, is I'm just too fucking lazy. And I know nothing about graphic design either.
But
so
see, that's the beauty of the internet, is that you can actually find somebody who is a stud at graphic design, somebody to just make this crazy big L logo that's just like women posting their L's online, just this stud logo, and put it all over everything. Just turn it into like
Just have Sam Hyde design it for you. I think he'd do it.
I love
that would be crazy.
Gio?
I love how like one of the top women posting L's was that Daily Mail headline about the Sex and the City writer. How
that's a tremendous L.
She regrets choosing a career over having children, and I love how that, like, I don't know, women posting L's is sort of like this weird Rorschach test of like, is it a joke or is it people that like really like, especially not even like I've only noticed like maybe like the baddie Twitter accounts being like, oh my god, this is misogynist, but it's mostly like other like male feminist dudes that really like try to go after women posting
those are my
L's.
biggest haters. It's the male feminists.
They're the real ones that are trying to go after.
They are
James.
the worst.
The
Like
white knight
there's
is an eternal.
all the they thems, all the people that have BLM, ACAB in their profile, all that, the people that I had one guy slide into my DMs and let me pull up exactly what he said because it was actually fucking crazy. That I was like, holy shit. So he had ACAB, if you like cops, fuck you, and then they them in his bio. And he DM'd me saying, dude, epic nice having a slur in your pinned tweet. Super sick. And my pinned tweet says, I welcome all Jews to celebrate and partake in the festivities of Christmas.
Oh my.
That's my pinned tweet.
Oh,
Jews is a slur now.
So it sounds like he posted an L.
Yeah.
I know.
But I find it funny, like how we've gotten like the Sex and the City one is particularly a massive L because that show really, you could say, I know the Ramona Flowers thing is a meme, but like when you really look at the impact of Sex and the City and how so many, not just women, but also men consented to this like rootless modern culture of deferring, not just having children, but really a lot of aspects of adulthood. But it's this really weird, like Gen X to millennial reality. And I wonder if, I don't know, we live in the age of L's. Everyone's taking L's. Men take L's, women take L's, Zers take L's. I mean, we live in the age of L's.
There's a million different accounts for men taking L's before this. They were just called other things. The men down, super bad or whatever that one's called.
It's the
struggle tweets.
The guys who are
It's
down
the Kelly Yuga boys.
I remember when Struggle Tweets, I followed Struggle Tweets when he had like 2,000 followers. I'm like, this thing's gonna take off pretty big.
Oh, is taking L's relative to the conjunction of the planets?
Yeah, it's just like I didn't know.
Kind of.
So many other, I think most people were afraid to actually go after women because like you can go after guys and like no one's gonna give you any shit. So I think that's why this didn't exist for so long in any form.
Well, Andy Kaufman, he fought women.
That's true. Absolutely, he did.
Perhaps it's time to perhaps it's time to revive. I don't know. It's been a lot like a reboot, if you will.
Lev, I have something to admit. I am Andy Kaufman.
Oh,
His soul has been
Incarnated.
placed in my body.
that makes a lot of sense.
We share a mind.
You know, you can just put on a dress and they'll allow you to punch women if you like. It's called women's MMA.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you
they
gotta
have
do
a
is
show.
fight.
They have a show now where it's like Women's Fight Club or something like that. I don't know.
Really? That's
They have a TV. They
I
have like
love
a
it when
Netflix
women
show.
fight each other in like the mud and they're in bikinis and stuff like that. I think
Dude, that's Attitude Era. That's gone now. Now there's women who are technical wrestlers now. So
I thought Women's
Yeah,
Fight Club was
Rousey,
like
right?
I thought Women's Fight Club was like the equivalent of that back in the day was that roller derby thing. I don't know if that's still.
oh yeah, yeah.
That's a thing. A lot of them still do that.
Those girls are
stuff.
hardcore.
You
Give them
gotta find
credit.
you a
No,
woman
it
who
is-
can bust out a burning hammer. That's what you need.
no, there is. If you go to Japan, I mean that's
Oh,
the-
oh my god, the Japanese women wrestlers are
Joshi
fucking,
wrestlers. Yeah, they
are-
could take
are
on men.
hell
In fact,
yeah.
a lot of them
intense.
have.
yeah.
I remember this one woman. I think she actually did go to the WWE. She actually had a death match with Jun Kasai, and she like took the light tubes and everything. It was hilarious. But in Japan, they don't have that like cultural taboo of like.
What was her name?
Thank you.
Kama, I think was the name when she was in Japan.
Yeah.
She's Asuka in America now, but I believe I saw the same women hitting each other with light tubes.
Yeah.
No, but it's funny because Asuka, she actually like fought Minoru Suzuki, and he like slapped the taste out of her. Like, oh, it was brutal. It almost looked like domestic violence, but it's like
Japan doesn't really have a problem with showing women getting beat up. Literally, it's not a.
It's funny though because as far as I know, in Japan, women aren't allowed to do sumo wrestling.
Oh no,
just about
because
to ask,
no,
is there a female-
sumo is for men.
Totally
No.
different.
Yeah,
Sumo-
like
sumo
they're
is
not,
for
they're not
men.
even
Although-
allowed.
There is not.
not
Although,
allowed
if we
to
get
touch
some
the
of the
lady.
Even
American-
suggested is heretical. How
If we
dare
get
you?
some of the American women to go to Japan,
Oh,
you know, like
I
the
knew that was
pink-haired,
coming.
the pink-haired feminists, have like maybe some of them could be really good sumo
They would
wrestlers.
never allow them. It's
If we
it's
could
a, it's
somehow-
a man's thing for. It's like samurai.
On the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, you're allowed to
There's
beat
Oh
nothing
women.
yeah,
wrong
yeah.
with
There we
it.
go. That's the
What if we
way.
started?
in.
What if we started American sumo, and it was just those large whale women with the crazy colored hair?
you would
Kelly
get Lindy
Roberts.
West to do sumo.
I don't know. I think it would
I'd
be
be
cooler
upset.
just to dump them in the ocean and see what happens.
Sumo is sacred.
But
This is
Put 'em all
heretical.
in a
to me.
boat.
no, there was
Send a
this.
boat out to the sea,
There was this.
sinking halfway.
You don't even
There-
need a boat for them. You just put, a little one of those,
Just roll 'em
those
out
kids'
here.
lines with the Twinkie on their head and just send them out to sea. There you go.
You know, speaking of sumo, reminded me of Lindy, man, because he's a really big sumo fan.
Yeah, because
I was
Sumo's under
wondering-
Lindy.
Yeah, I was
Sumo is
wondering,
Lindy.
What?
Yeah.
what is
do
the
you
deal
have
with
any do you have
Lindy?
any plans of bringing Lindy, man, on stream?
Oh god,
He won't come on.
I
He's
want
not-
to. I want
He's too windy for the stream.
Gio has been blackpilling me about bringing him on. He's saying like, no, there's
Well,
no
it's because
way.
he doesn't
He's
go on
never-
anything. Like you, yeah.
Well,
He,
I could
If
show.
I-
Yeah.
Justin
I'll-
Murphy
I'll
couldn't
do,
even get.
I'll do a
Lindy
fan
Man.
dance. I'll do one of those Star Trek fan dances for him.
I love
But it is funny though. Like a serious point would be there was this was it Sunny or was it definitely legit that did this thread about how when it comes to like women how they were on par with men in agrarian societies, but that was more so just like they were forced to because of life itself was so difficult. And it's really, I don't know, it's like this I think it was about like how preference of men, like the trads, they're like women should have a certain place, but in ancient times women weren't like they were not physically as strong as men, but they still
My
don't know.
daughters will be able to kick the shit out of you.
yeah
100%.
so did that thing.
Yeah, 100%.
So-
I'm not playing games with that. They will be proficient because I know what it's like to be a man. So I'm going to teach my daughters how to avoid that eventuality in case it ever comes
Are you
up.
going to teach him to use the Bobby Hill technique?
No, I'm going to teach them how to
Bobby Hill
rip your joints apart. My daughters will be vicious
Okay,
people.
but no
Uh,
kicking.
potentially
Don't,
if
don't be like
needed.
shield maidens.
No, like it's because the things that you can do. Like I trained martial arts my whole life, so I know how strength is able to be brought to bear. I've trained with women. I know the difference between me and a woman at the same height and same weight in terms of strength, and that varies by males because males are different in that regard too. But it's like it's a different thing. It's a different thing. So you have to teach them how to be able to deal with that problem. this is actually I was just about to bring this up. Dana, I don't know if you guys are following the, Jake Paul keeps fighting celebrities and like knocking out NBA players and shit. So now this kid's getting more and more clout in this industry. So he wants to fight people and shit. And Dana White was talking about making him fight Amanda Nunes, which one I would watch. I would watch that because Amanda Nunes is a fucking badass. Amanda Nunes is a badass. So she could, but if Jake Paul knocked out Amanda Nunes, I don't think that the world would be able to deal with that kind of thing on TV. Watching a kid knock out a woman, I don't think that would be like, I don't know how that would be. The fact that shit is even being like,
Like, what if he just walks up to her?
The world can deal with that. You know how? They just call him transgender. That's how they deal with it.
He'll just say I'm MTF, but I'm not passing.
I just picture Jake walking up, one punch straight to the face, just dead center, blasts her nose, just it explodes right live on camera.
Right.
The world would, yeah, that would never ever stop playing all over TV. Like, look how terrible the internet is. YouTube must be shut down.
Look what they've done. Yeah. Look what we've allowed ourselves
MMA
to
really is human cockfighting. They've gone too far.
Exactly.
Human cockfighting.
Real life Mortal Kombat.
Honestly, I think we should put all influencers in like an octagon and make them all fight.
I think
real life celebrity.
May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yes, I 100% agree with that because so much of these people like their entire job is imagine seeing Keemstar getting his ass beat. It would be so cathartic. It would be so nice to watch that too.
I feel like
unless you're actually funny.
Yeah.
Make that your business plan.
I bet you Keemstar fights dirty.
I think the way
for sure he does.
Aim for the eyes, aim for the nuts.
Yeah.
Titty twisters, like everything's on the table for King.
He's gonna tear your butthole, like he's gonna do the whole 9 yards.
Well, see, tearing the butthole, that's an important point you're making right now, Rimus, because I think eventually we're gonna get to the point, just like the Romans did, where we're gonna introduce combat to the death back into it again.
Yeah, pancration. See, again, Lindy, that's what sumo used to be. Sumo was that. Sumo, by the way, is the original MMA. It was the first no holds barred combat that was recorded and like ceremonialized. Like those guys would stomp each other to death, knees, elbows, grabbing your nutsack, everything. Everything was allowed. And it's also being done by ginormous dudes. So you can imagine why it was such an interesting spectacle to watch. It's like gladiatorial arena times 1,000.
Grabbing each other's nutsacks.
Yeah, and exploding them. That's
you know what's funny?
That's Lindy Japan entertainment.
Wasn't it always ginormous dudes?
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal was the size of the people, but
they weren't.
You didn't have to be. You didn't have to be. You didn't have to be.
You know what's funny? Now that you mentioned that, Remus, is that I'm going to release this video tomorrow I did where I'm reviewing these Carol Dunham paintings that are of wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if you've looked at Carol Dunham, he's the one that does the giant vagina paintings. But these ones he does, it's like they're trying to like grapple Greco-Roman style in the nude, but it's always like this, like, like the perverted, like upper class boomer type humor where it's like it's all about like they're grabbing each other's genitals and stuff. So now that you mentioned
it's about the fact that they're gay. Yeah, like people.
It's like really
cannot deal. It's like anytime that you're at a bar and there's UFC on and they get to the ground, some dude's like, oh, look.
Yeah,
and it's just like,
oh, and it looks like they're humping one another.
And keep in mind, Carol Dunham is also Lena Dunham's father. So
yeah, it says
that explains it all.
It says more about the person saying that than what's like. Those dudes are not thinking that. I'm pretty sure the guys that are doing the grappling, right? It's extremely strenuous.
When you're actually in combat, it's like that. Your mind
God, dude, there's nothing else happening. It's crazy. It's crazy.
You're ready to bust somebody's ass.
I don't know if you guys ever watched, like, if you want to see real human cockfighting, that type of thing, again, you got to go to Japan. Pride in the 90s was
it's so good.
The greatest thing ever. It was insanity. Head stomps, headbutting. You could do basically anything. And because Japan was like, their mentality has always been, if he dies, he dies. One. And two.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it's like, what? They know what they're doing. They know what they're getting themselves into. Like it's not a game, right?
Like a NASCAR crash.
Yeah. and
They
also
die
it's-
honorably.
Exactly. It's like die on your don't
way of
be
the
a
samurai.
punk. Don't be a punk. Yeah, like Pride would have guys refusing to tap so often. So you would have just arm snaps like that's happening live, and and the Japanese audience, clapping.
Yeah, they do that.
Like,
It's
they
dead
love it.
quiet
They're-
except for the clap.
Yeah, they're very, very quiet. They're all, you can hear the grappling happen, everything. It's such a fascinating sort of I guess like cultural.
But do you
time
think Pride
capsule.
was fixed, or was that just
Pride was for sure. Yeah, it was
some
yeah,
for
Yakuza.
sure.
Yeah,
It
there
was
was some
Yakuza.
going on for sure.
There was for sure fixing in Pride, but it doesn't
Those-
matter.
Well, Yakuza, they own pretty much all the major promotions. They own Pro Wrestling Noah. They own FMW. They owned a lot of that in the MMA world. They were like basically the first. I think the Yakuza gave seed money to Pride pretty much.
Yes,
like
if
they helped
if it wasn't for the Yakuza, there would be no UFC. There would be no. There would
and
be
Dana
none
White
of
had
this.
to like give
Yeah,
the
there would be
Yakuza
none of this
money
because
to
the
buy Pride.
Yakuza were the ones who were like, yeah, that sounds awesome, and people will bet on this because make no mistake, that is what this has always been about. Prize fighting has always been about betting.
Yeah.
It's
So all
always been
this
about.
shit, all this shit about the Yakuza dying out, that's just memes.
Oh, that's
They've
bullshit.
just
No,
switched,
they
they
just-
just switched
They just
business
quote unquote
plans.
went
rebranded.
legit. They're business enterprising now.
They rebranded, but make no mistake, those guys are still some tough characters. Like
Oh yeah, they'll still kill you.
Yeah,
There's
but
so
they're like
much of
semi
society.
legit. Yeah.
so
Yeah,
much
but-
of society is built upon crime and criminal
Modernized.
Exactly. They're just
You know,
modernized, but they changed they have a PR, like they have really good PR in Japan. Like people still know Yakuza are hard. You don't mess with them, don't get involved with them, but they're not like scared that
I
the
get hard all the
Yakuza are on
time.
the
What's the
corner.
big deal?
They're not gonna not walk down that alley because there's a Yakuza guy in there. They're gonna not walk down the alley if it looks like there's a bunch of thugs in the alley, because Yakuza guys are kind of like, they look a certain way, they have a certain style, right? It's like made men, So, but they're they have like a that type of mentality.
This guy's
In
a
their-
friend of ours.
Exactly. In their neighborhood, they have a sort of good reputation, but they're still known for being a criminal, but they're still criminals, But yeah, they ran the whole MMA scene. They ran Pride. So yeah, a lot of those matches are fixed, but fixing a match, like if the match is fixed and you're gonna lose to, say, Wanderlei Silva in the 90s, he's still gonna stomp on your head. So it doesn't really matter if the match is fixed.
That's
You're still
what
gonna get
Chael Sonnen said to Vanderlei. He's like, "You think those fights are real in Japan?"
I can't wait to get close. Yeah, Chael Sonnen is, if you guys want to talk about trolling, Chael Sonnen is the master shit talker of MMA. He is amazing. He had this joke where he was talking about they went to Brazil, and so there's some Brazilian fighters that are known for being like they came from the favelas, right? So he was talking about some of the Brazilian fighters came to America, and he was like, one of them, this guy named Big Nog, he was like, I swear he pulled out a carrot and tried to feed the bus
because he thought it was an elephant.
Yeah, because he thought it was like it's a transport animal like any other, right? Which is so good to call out.
Guys, there is a message I wanted to relay. Some of you may have heard this. This is a message that I got after the Witch stream, which I did not see. It's from this really nice girl, and here it goes. Dude, please don't listen to that hat with a human-shaped growth. I just discovered your streams, and I'm totally down to keep watching. From what I saw, no one did anything untoward, and she's pissy because the conversation reached a level her hamster in a wheel brain couldn't keep up with. Sincerely, sincerely, a Czech occultist who isn't fucking lame.
What's the context behind this?
Which right?
Gio, do you want to go for it?
Okay, so I don't even want to bring it up. But it was the Thelema stream, and one guest figured she had too much, so she had to go to the simps on Twitter and say that we're an evil, racist, Nazi podcast.
Oh no!
They tried to cancel
I'll be
not an
nice
evil
about
racist podcast.
We are
racist and sexist because the chat, we're doing what the chat does.
The chat.
We got so many of those. That's all of them.
Yeah. Shout out to Aman Sadhu, the great and powerful Aman Sadhu. Aman said that he was curious to see her breasticles, and she got very. very upset.
No,
Now
but you
that's
know what's
fake.
It
funny?
wasn't even that
That's
many
fake.
people. It was like 2 or 3 people who were
Yeah,
like,
but you
she's
know what's
hot.
funny,
And she was
though?
just like, I can't fucking handle it. Just like,
Man, imagine if she had some real heat.
But
Yeah,
you know
it
what's
was
crazy though? We had the e-girl stream, and we had like a legit porn star that you
Yeah.
could look up. Not that I would encourage that, but you
I,
could.
I went to her profile and I
Anyway,
saw the inside
you
of her
could-
vagina very quickly.
You could go.
Yeah.
Yep, same.
You,
me too.
you could.
The
we had
Pikachu.
like
Ugh.
we had porn stars, erotic artists. We had Hollywood person, but it's like no, none of them like they saw the chat and it's like okay, whatever. But none of them like freaked out to that extent, and they're like, and I saw the chat a little bit, and of course you're going to get the typical like daddy issues and all that other comments, but it's just I don't know. They were good sports about it, and.
Like a
Who
little
cares?
slice
Let's
of
move on.
fortune is.
I can't
Don't worry
figure out
about it.
how
It's
people.
funny how the sorry, go ahead, man.
I can't figure out how people are going to play online and do shit that is openly getting heel heat. Like they're doing shit that like $1 Million Man goes out and says, "Oh, you bunch of poor people going to come and watch pro wrestling. Got nothing better to do. Look how much money I've got. Waving money around." Yeah. And you see him doing that, like he's trying to get heel heat, and he knows that the more the crowd boos and that they hate him, that's what he's looking for. And if you're going to go on and do something stupid, and everybody's going to say stuff in the chat, like how do you not know? How do you not lean into heel heat?
Because they all want to be faces. They don't want to be heels.
That's the thing. They
100%.
don't.
They don't want to be faces. They don't want to be heels. They want to
No,
be
but
faces.
then there's heat. But like there's heat. But then there's go home heat. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they can't
to rage
handle it.
quit on a stream because of the fucking chat. That's go home heat right there. Whereas
Oh yeah.
the e-girls that we had on, they realized that it's like
They get
it's
money.
just the internet trolls,
Well,
right?
they have
Like,
they have thicker skins because they're used to people degrading them constantly. So they're
Oh,
just like,
God.
Yeah, they
seriously.
get degraded at a
They're just
professional
like,
level.
all right, I'm used to a faceless people saying mean things about me, whatever. But like witch girls apparently just could not handle. It's like, no, that's too much. That's beyond the pale. Excuse me, I'm gonna go back to reading about Aleister Crowley.
We're the
You know, that's
granddaughters of the
pretty-
witches you couldn't burn. But if you say something mean to me, I'm gonna cry
I'm
about
out.
it.
Oh yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
It's a
We're all
pretty.
powerful.
It's a
Please
pretty.
don't
Have
say
you
mean
guys-
things.
Your
It's
ancestors
like when
are so
people
much more
say,
badass
it's like,
than you.
oh, these are the same girls that are like, oh, we're gonna start the revolution and blah blah blah.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
luck.
yeah, sure they are,
Take an
honey.
order at a
Hey,
restaurant.
You know you have to
without
kill
fucking-
people to do that, right? You're gonna have blood on your hands. You're gonna have to do
Yeah.
something
No,
scary
but wasn't
and
the
hard.
witch burning thing largely like either the numbers were either exaggerated or it happened mostly in like smaller Germanic Protestant
My understanding
villages.
of that was that they were more hangings than there were burnings.
Yeah, they didn't burn that many people.
By the
no,
way,
but even the
speaking of
Inquisition,
burning,
like it was only
speaking of
1,000
burning,
or so.
I wanted to show off what I'm eating here. This is a steak. This is a bison ribeye, I believe. I think this is a ribeye
Whoa.
over here, and
Damn.
it's also charred with coffee grounds.
Ooh,
Damn, look at you.
fancy.
They do that now?
I just
He's
take some of the
maxing.
coffee, I grind the coffee, and then I rub the coffee over the meat. So there we go, guys. Subscribe
Interesting.
right fucking now. Subscribe right fucking now for me eating this beautiful piece of meat right now. This is a half mukbang session, half drinking session with James Healy on the mix.
I'm always drinking on BTR, baby.
You
Always
are literally
drinking.
always drunk. On
Let's
Let's
all
break
these
the
things.
rules over on YouTube. Everybody
If
like
James
and
is on
subscribe.
BTR,
By
Subscribe
the way,
right now.
guys,
Yes.
I have an announcement to make.
I
Do you have an
do
announcement?
stream like I do my own podcast, whereas if I'm not, I'm only doing it if I'm getting drunk. So
Wait,
yeah.
I have to send this.
that's
to
how you make good content, is you get drunk. So.
Gio, what's the announcement?
Apparently, I'm not gonna say he's stealing my tweets, but apparently Roosh V has stole a few of my takes. He tweeted these pictures that I've tweeted. One of them was the still life with the dildo next to the wine glass. Another was the New York Times cover. So this past month I've been talking about neoliberal kitsch, this concept I'm trying to make, and now it's growing in a big way. Now, if Roosh V is stealing my tweet concepts, I feel that it's on my Twitter, so I feel like maybe I'm making it in the world if Roosh V is stealing my content. So
You're
it's,
definitely making it.
Well, see, there's
I'm
there's certain
fine.
levels to repost and things. Like if you want to talk about, if you're gonna put ideas and things out there, and like it's one thing to just go, all right, this guy posted a silly image, I'm gonna repost it. Like that's one thing, but it's a whole other thing to take the guy's concept, his premise, like, and especially word for word. Like, what the fuck? Like some people, I've seen that kind of shit going on, and I like, what are you guys doing? Like, where's the honor among these thieves?
Gio,
what about
Stu
when it
Roosh,
comes to,
Stu Roosh, Gio.
It's one thing
Take
to
him to
homage
court.
post. It's one thing to homage post, and it's another thing to like literally ape somebody's style. And
Hey
edit it,
man,
like-
hey
I
man.
do think
At
that content is sort of like, I mean, content theft is sort of a dead concept nowadays because
Yeah.
of the way things are getting. Sorry, I cut someone off. But
No,
yeah.
well, what about all the church? Isn't he supposed to be like an Orthodox Christian now, and he's reformed?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's,
So the story
no,
goes.
I'm just.
Oh,
I'm just,
sure.
I'm just
So
joking.
is
I think he probably saw my tweets, and that I'm flattered. Not that I'm just being facetious, but no, it sort of is. I think that content organically grows, and then eventually concepts get appropriated by other people.
Yeah, I
At
think
the end of the day, when someone steals your content, you control their soul somewhat. So.
exactly. You're
Yeah.
living in their mind.
Somebody
You know what I
has
mean?
to influence the influencers. Somebody has to get in their ear and dictate what they're doing and what they're saying. Somebody has to, and so a lot of people work with writers. Like that's the open secret. That
Hidden
there are a lot of
figures.
guys who use writers.
See, the key is just to be a writer, and there you go.
Yeah, influence
No.
the influencers.
The key is to have takes that are so crazy that they're completely unique in your own. There's no way people could ever be like, oh, you took that from someone else.
The biggest advice I give to anybody like looking to build an audience, especially on like Twitter, audacity. Absolute, that's why I wanted to be a bastard. I want to get heel heat. I want to be the son of a bitch of son of a bitches. I want to get that heat.
See,
and then I that's what I'm looking for.
Sonny literally argues all day, and it goes really well for him.
And I've also figured out that you could just say anything. It's like prank phone calls. Like if there's somebody saying like, well, you're just a white man. I go, no, I'm not. I'm actually a black crippled woman.
Yeah,
And
there's
you're
no rules.
deeply offensive to me. Yeah, you can just say anything. Who gives a shit?
Yes, I think they're
Right. I wonder if Roosh will come on BTR.
Or you could just be
Mog
like
him,
where
mog
you
him,
don't have
Gio.
to lie, and you just get people mad constantly by just being yourself, which is even better.
Yeah, a natural heel, like think New Jack in the '90s. Just give him a microphone, put him in front of a crowd, and let it happen.
Well, I'd like to see Roosh stab someone or throw someone off of a building.
Yeah, would you say that New Jack was a heel or just a psychopath?
No, he was the
murderer?
anti-hero. He was like the.
He was a baby face with me. I can tell you that.
He's just like, what if I killed this guy?
You know what's funny?
He wanted to kill that guy. He wanted to kill that guy. If you watch the one with the scaffolding, he very much he was mad at that guy.
Fall. Yeah,
he was mad at that guy because like 10 years earlier he had dropped him on his head.
Vic Grimes, yeah. That was...
Yeah, and he still had like lingering effects from it, and so they're up on top of that scaffolding, and he had his chance. He just stuck him with
It's
the
a miracle if you look up the XPW fall. It's a miracle that Vic Grimes only had like a broken ankle after that. He could have like legit been murked because of it. Yeah.
Talking about the giant tower of tables.
The big stack of tables. He clips the one and it sort of falls off. And I just think, oh my god!
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is that I mentioned to Lita about if she knew about Rob Black, and Rob Black was the actual owner of XPW, and he was indicted because he originally was a porn company owner, and he was indicted for indecency. One of the only like legit indecency cases he was indicted for by the federal government, and so he had to close XPW. Yeah.
Did you guys ever hear about the comics artist in the '90s that was convicted of obscenity?
Was it A. Wyatt Man? No, that was.
Try to remember the fella's name.
I think his name is James Healy.
Underground comics guy.
The real one. He's here. He was here the whole time.
Yeah, but he drew like crazy comics and like it was.
Oh, are you talking about Robert Crumb or no?
Okay, here's the guy's name. Michael Christopher Diana.
His name's Ben Garrison, dude.
Yeah.
No, what's his name?
So he ended up on probation for many years. Yeah, 26 years after being sentenced. He got 26 years of probation over drawing comic books that were, the sort of thing you would see on a webcomic on a Tuesday. Like, who cares?
Can we do that to the furries? To stop the furry menace.
I mean, the furry thing. I don't know what's going on with those guys.
Like, I get it. Fuck? I get the furries. I just want them to stop.
Well, they watched
It's just-
Gadget on Chippendale's Rescue Rangers and got way too excited.
Yeah,
Well, those are
seriously, they just-
specifically Russian furries. The Russians, for some reason, seem to be very interested in Gadget from Rescue Rangers. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Maybe it's a Princess
Is she the
Sally
blonde?
thing.
Is she
Maybe
the
they like
blonde mouse?
maybe they like building things. They're just like they like her ingenuity. She
Dude,
is
it was-
strong woman mouse will build things for me.
In
She will
the
fix things.
in the West, it was what's her face?
Give me
Lola
mouse
Bunny, right?
pussy.
Lola
Lola-
Bunny. Well, okay,
Yeah.
before Lola Bunny, there was Sally Acorn. For those
Okay.
who are
All right, the
aware.
Oh,
OG,
Sonic
the
Hedgehog.
OG furry
Yeah.
bait.
Sally.
Yeah.
Go again.
Lev's like, get it fucking right.
Oh, you want to talk about the greatest story ever on
Wait.
the internet? The guy who put bones inside of Sally Acorn.
Oh,
God, we
yeah,
already
that
went through
one.
that.
That's not,
We
that's
went
not the
through that.
greatest. The greatest story on the internet is Mr. Hands, and it always will be. But
Oh,
that
shout
is
out
a
the
very
same-
close
it's of the
second.
same-
Shout out to
comic.
Mr.
I
Hand,
mean-
one of our great listeners.
I
Yes,
would,
Mr.
I
Hand,
would
Mr. Hands.
consider like who would you say is the main character of the internet? Can we say it's
Chris
Chris
Chan.
Chan?
Chris
It's
Chan.
got to be.
Yeah.
It's got to be
Yeah.
Chris Chan.
Brother.
The,
Like,
the
they
entire
are the
internet is
internet.
revolving
I don't
around
even know
him.
who that is.
Yeah,
You don't know
the
who Chris
hero
Chan
that we
is?
deserve. You want to talk
That's
about
like
a
the
baby
worst
face.
question. That's like that just opens up a Pan's Labyrinth. of, like,
Who said that? they
who's
don't know who
Chris Chan?
I feel
Oh,
like
we all know. We
I feel
all
like
know.
you gotta have like a Chris Chan episode.
Yeah, no, we have to.
We will. We will.
We have to try to
Live
get
if,
Christine
uh,
on.
Yeah,
What's up?
Friends of
Working
Friends
out
had them
something.
on a podcast, and I couldn't follow a damn thing they were saying. Like they were going off into La La Land in such a way that I couldn't keep up.
Well, it's because
Oh,
his
by the way,
whole
we
life
got
has
an
been
answer.
documented.
We got an answer from VDR. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. Rescue Rangers is popular because it was one of the few Western cartoons broadcast in the 90s on every other day after school. So I wasn't in Russia during the 90s. Well, no, actually I was, but I was way too young. But yeah, I guess people who were growing up at that time, they were seeing Rescue Rangers mostly, and they developed that crush on Gadget. Like she has her own cult following there in Russia. Like they made a mantle out of her or something. They made a statue that they worship with candles, and it gets pretty intense.
Dude,
I
what
wonder
are you
if some
talking
bitch
about? Are you
put bones
serious?
in
There's
a-
actually a cult of
Yes,
Gadget.
there is a cult of Gadget Hack Wrench. Here, I'm gonna put some images on.
Sure.
I've never even
amazing.
heard of
That's
this
honorable.
cartoon before.
What a
So
beautiful nation.
it's like
Either.
the Disney afternoon was like DuckTales and Darkwing Duck and
Gotcha.
Rescue
Yeah.
Rangers.
Yeah.
Was Goof Troop on there? Goof Troop, like they were like 3 or 4 little things they had.
I mean, I guess it doesn't look that furry compared to other stuff.
Right, this is like OG furry. Like I would also consider something like a that old Robin Hood cartoon.
Oh yeah, no, that's
Like
those
that
are
is,
definitely anthropomorphized animals.
Yeah,
these
like
are-
the
But
furry
what
scene-
is?
My
what is
problem with
this-
furries isn't that they exist. My problem with furries is that they infect everything. It's like
What's their
bronies.
culture? Like
Yeah,
they have
just-
like this weird culture of
They
like
just take things
indoctrination.
that you are that are beloved to you specifically in your soul and your heart and your childhood, and they take it and they make it furry. Or
Well,
they
they're like
just-
the poor.
One of
Furries
several
honestly need to
wolves.
make it. Furries need to make like gays in like the 50s and the 60s, and they just stay out of the fucking sight.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. It was only
Oh my
until like
God.
maybe 2-3 years ago
Oh,
that
man.
I really thought furries were all gay dudes blowing each other wearing mascot costumes.
No man.
Finding out that
A lot.
chicks were into
Apparently,
that.
a lot of them are transgender and.
Right,
anyways,
but I
What a
found
surprise!
out
Mental
real
illness
chicks.
breeds mental illness.
Yeah, what a how who could have thought? Who
But
would
I
have
wonder
thought-
what-
actual
but
chicks,
what is,
were
like,
getting
behind-
railed
I
at
think
these
that's a
crazy
really
furry
common
parties.
belief that that's what furries are. And then when you guys did the furry stream and we were all kind of like, so what else is it besides a bunch of gay dudes blowing each other? And they were like, we don't need to explain anything to you.
Yeah, they were like,
You do
Uh,
though. You kind of do.
Yeah,
That is, like, I
like
wonder
how
this
come
obsession
everyone's
with it, I
everyone's
mean.
exposure to this is horrific? It's not like you guys are the only ones who are like, no, it's fine. Everyone else is like, I never want to see that again.
But I
never
wonder
wanna-
if we're seeing because of the internet. I remember there
This
was
little
this.
fox is freaking me out right now during this topic.
Or
Yeah, it's a
Ross
bit weird.
He just
It's a
looks
bit
like he's
weird.
fucking.
Let me
strung out.
link to
Here. By the way, here it
He's
is.
like
Here is the
watching
article.
me mad.
Here
Let's
is
hope
the
he doesn't have a
article.
big dick under there.
So,
Thanks.
so this is the article right here.
Holy
Now,
shit, they
what
got
why
the
are
tiki
Russian-
torches.
Dude,
Why
what?
are Russian cult
Oh,
followers
shit.
worshiping Gadget Hack Wrench? So here we
That's-
go.
that
It's
honestly
real. I
is
told you it's
so
fucking real.
bizarre that it
Oh
rules.
my God, Gadget
Oh,
will not
wow.
divide
That
us.
picture has some really dark energy.
Yeah,
I respect it more than the witches.
Here's more. Here's another one.
The tiki
Here-
You know
torch
what, Jugs,
strikes
to be
again.
honest, most pictures out of Russia have that same energy.
I was about to say the next picture has
Yeah.
somehow even
It's the
darker.
exact
Oh, that's
energy.
same
great.
energy.
You want to talk about some like weird energy, man?
Look at this, but this tweet was really great.
Oh, that's a powerful image right there.
The age of the scientist, the bugman, the beer causer, the age of the oracle. I wonder, like, to relate this to what we're talking about, I wonder if the internet is bringing back sort of a type of mysticism, a type of like machinic.
It's the 100%. The kid, absolutely.
Like, think of it, the furries are the animist portion of.
Yeah, man, they're the old ancient animist furries. They're just hanging out, being animals, wearing.
Because there's a mania. There's a mania attached to the furry.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a person.
Yeah, exactly, and
I'm not
saying like it's the same.
Serious.
To me, it's of course disrespectful to equate it to indigenous mythology and throughout the world, not just in North America. But I think that in some respects, this is what I was trying to do on the furry stream, which was saying that maybe there is something deeper. Like, why are people?
Oh, like spirit animal.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And my friend Hero, he's like, Gio, no, it's not that complicated.
Well, it is.
Shamans gone
I think
rogue.
it is. I think it is, but it's like the difference between people who play Call of Duty and people who fucking are like fighting in war. You know what I mean? It's like the spirit animal people are doing it. They're
well, to be fair, the furries are playing Call of Duty. It's a different kind of duty, but.
Okay. What flashed into my mind? You know what? Just when you said that, what flashed into my mind was that wolf. Remember? Have you guys seen the Gray Wolf?
There was this comic.
The Gray Wolf Abbey with he always had brown. He was had brown.
I hate that I understand the reference. But
you know what I'm talking about.
It was an Encyclopedia Dramatica back in the day.
Yeah,
that comic. All right, let's talk about something serious. What is this great thing that's going to happen?
Okay, so there's going to be a great conjunction.
Wait, some idea just popped into my head.
Yeah, what is
it? It's like, okay, if the furries are shamans gone rogue, does that mean the furries are wendigos?
Don't ask that. Do not.
Okay,
Interesting. You're gonna have to delete that from the stream.
Yeah, that's an info hazard. Yeah, take that.
The great conjunction made him say that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, actually, Wendigos. Okay, so I have a question for Brett. Brett, what do you think about furries? We haven't really heard anything from you about the furries. So before we move on, what do you think of furries, furry culture? I don't know if.
What an initiation under the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys are onto something with the whole modern shamanism, internet mysticism, and furries. I personally think and see that the occult is coming back pretty strong on the internet, especially these days, and embodying or personifying, taking on another form like that definitely is shape-shifting, and I think that's a big part of shamanism, maybe neo-shamanism. So I think there's something to that. I'm not against furries; it's not my thing.
And
different strokes for different folks. You know, like what? Who am I to tell people that they can't blow each other wearing mascot costumes? Like, this is America.
Yeah.
Like, go for it.
Do it.
I'm just gonna bully them off the internet. That's all.
Yeah, just stop producing images like the one that James posted in the fucking Discord.
Make no mistake, I'm gonna be relentless making jokes, and I'll definitely be side-eyeing like, what the fuck are these people up to? But you know, like if they want to blow each other wearing mascot costumes, like go for it. The ones that fuck dogs and stuff like that, okay, we got to stop that. Like, we can't have that in society.
Yeah, public execution.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that. I wouldn't call those people. I genuinely would not call those people and furries.
Although there was,
I would
there was
separate
an incident.
I imagine that Venn diagram has some crossover.
There was more than a few incidents.
Hero the Wolf and the Zoo Crew. If you guys remember,
I don't
that.
want you to say those words.
Yeah,
please.
They played that on Howard Stern.
Don't say those words in that order again.
Like maybe 10 years ago.
The reason why
I like that's the real info hazard.
See, the reason why I like that though is because it sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon series, right?
Exactly.
Hero the Wolf and the Zoo Crew.
Hero the Wolf and the Zoo Crew.
Who's on drums?
Here we go.
It's like a SCP or something. Like you give your kid. It's like a book that you give your kid, and then you see one thing when it opens, but when they open it, they see something completely different. It's just to corrupt them utterly. Yeah, that's what that is. Don't.
Oh
don't
my
say it
god.
again.
Okay, please.
Can I suggest a new topic now?
Please,
for it.
please.
All
come
right,
on.
new topic.
Please.
All right, Cyberpunk 2077.
Woof.
I haven't
Oh
played
no,
it.
we went
Played
the frying pan into the
I
fire.
have not played it, but I've watched.
So I played it at an event, like a trade show, 2 years ago, 3 years, like who knows what time is anymore. And I didn't think too highly of it then. I was like, oh, about this, boys. And everybody else was like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. Like you don't know what you're talking about. Like you're just being a butthole. Don't be mean. And I'm like, no.
Because I just finished it. I put in 76 hours into it. And I will confidently say that it is the second best Western RPG I've ever played, right behind the original Deus Ex.
How can you call it an RPG though? Like, especially after saying Deus Ex, like the differences are so massive in terms of the way in which the game responds to the things that you do. Not necessarily like the dialogue is, it's dialogue, right? But like, I mean, the things that happen, like the game doesn't, from what I've understood here, the game doesn't like, there's like 4 or 5 endings, right? But like ultimately it's basically just a straight line until those 5 options.
I mean, yeah.
Is there
but
like
I mean,
a multiplayer? No, there's
no,
no.
there's no multiplayer in it.
So it's not like an
it's like
open
Fallout.
cyberpunk world that you can interact with other people.
It's like
and have-
Skyrim. It's
Actually,
like Skyrim.
is the game
itself-
finished?
That's what it doesn't.
How bad? We gotta
well,
wait another
James
year or
is finished
something
with
before
it.
it's polished.
They took it off the PlayStation Store recently.
That was
Xbox
because
Store.
that was because CD Projekt Red, the developers, were like, yeah, just get a refund if you don't like it, and they never asked Sony or Microsoft if they could do that, and Sony and Microsoft were like, yeah, you can't just like say that we're gonna do that because like we never said that we were gonna do that, and CD Projekt Red was like, okay, but just do it anyway, everyone. And then Sony was like, fuck you. And then Microsoft was
Like I think if they created what No Man's Sky wanted to be or what it became, if they created like a cyberpunk world similar to like, I don't know, like Second Life, but less like creepy or outdated. If they created like a sandbox type concept where people like could interact in a cyberpunk universe, I don't know, that would have been
Yeah, that would have been
interesting,
something. Like
I think it-
Second Life. Some of the most fun I think I've ever had in my life is flying around in a spaceship in Second Life, dropping dick bombs. With dudes all
Then you
in
could do that,
spaceships.
yeah.
Shout out to
You know,
Ralph
like
Pouton. Shout out
legendary
Ralph
video
Pouton.
gaming.
See, I was always tempted, but then I guess I don't know.
Dude, it's a
Second
den.
Life
It's a
dead by
den.
now?
It's a den of degeneracy.
Yeah, I know.
What
You
they're
think
up to
furries
now,
are bad? You think furries are bad? Second
Like, I don't
Life
know
is
where, like,
insane.
I don't
Oh
know
my
what's going
God.
on with like 4chan culture. Like I'm so far out of that stuff, and
It's just Sneed now, dude. It's just Sneed.
It's
Like,
yeah.
It's just Sneed.
But no, it's funny because there's this article I read once about digital urban exploration, how like these like detached like the servers are on for some godforsaken reason, a lot of these
Oh.
open world games, but that
Worlds.
nobody's in them.
You're talking about Worlds Online.
Worlds Online, but there's other ones too, and it's really fascinating how even things get abandoned in the digital space. Like I remember ZHP was tweeting about how the majority of the internet will be closed to us soon, and I'm thinking, like, imagine all of those dead websites and those those deep web sort of junk. Like, what is in there?
GeoCities
It's like
era.
it's like the
Yeah.
catacombs.
GeoCities era, yeah.
It's like the
at
catacombs,
MySpace.
the French, the
Well,
terrorist
the
catacombs
ghosts
of
are
the
in there.
internet.
I
When's
bet
the
that
last
spirits.
time?
The spirits
Jinn.
of the internet are in
Yeah.
there.
Jinn are in there.
Well, not just of the internet. I bet that when we die, we can actually, as ghosts, visit websites that have existed in the past.
No, Lev. No, let us out.
no.
This
Let us out.
This is reminding me
Oh
of
my
that one
God.
time.
An admin account to OnlyFans. We can just see everything.
Yeah, right.
Exactly
But
what
you
these
have
boards
no
are up
penis
to.
to jack off with. No.
Do you guys see what
Yeah.
they're doing with Flash? How they're changing that? Have you
How
seen
they-
that?
They're
Yeah,
getting
it breaks
rid
my
of
heart
that.
to hear about Flash.
Yeah,
and,
Lev is
like,
an
Well-
old school Newgrounds guy, man.
Right.
Yeah, like,
So
I think we all are. Like,
so
everybody
it
has
is
respect for Newgrounds.
dying, but there is a massive effort to archive. There's
Yeah, I heard that.
web
Yeah.
software to replay it. It makes me wonder, like, could you breathe? Like, they're trying to breathe life into it. Whether or not it'll work, I don't know.
I
but
assume they could make something that's like open source that operates basically the same as Flash and sort of like revive it from the dead. But
As long as the protocol's there, anyone could write an emulator or adapter for it.
well, that's
to some
basically
other language.
what I'm saying is happening.
Right.
It's just I wonder how hard it is to breathe life back into some of these other dead things. Like,
It's
Let's
not.
all make MySpace pages.
No, yeah, like it's not that.
Why
different.
not?
There are tiny pockets always of like resistance within. Like you see this. Gio was saying, sort of with like the worlds.com type shit. But video games are a great example of this, of like old MMOs and stuff like that, where the community basically just refuses to allow it to die. Like like Warhammer Online, for example, it's an old ass MMO, doesn't exist anymore. There's no servers anymore except one.
Life
Private
finds a way.
server. Yeah, one private server
But
that is
that's what I
run by
mean, I feel-
super autistic Janny people from the EU. But no,
I mean, you know,
that's what makes it work.
Dude,
That's
A
why it exists.
well-motivated individual will get a lot of shit done.
Exactly.
I'm
feel that's
still
really
Really want it
active.
done.
I'm
We should
still
buy
active
up,
on it.
we should buy up
On
GeoCities
what?
and turn it into GeoCities.
With the I instead of
Yeah.
the.
buy like a museum and just have a digital museum. You can go visit these.
No, there are
dead
people that do
worlds.
that.
Oh, really?
There's this book I have. It's called Art Lives Here, where they talk about the early internet artists that have like found a way to make like different archivable. We actually had not a digital artist, but we had a gallery artist that works with computers and things like that on the show. But it's really crazy how I think the problem is the imagination of people nowadays. You were saying about different ways of finding, not just taking something and making it alive, like reanimating it, but also just the model of the internet itself, I feel is out of necessity going to change. Like we talk about this with FODCorp a lot, where we have to think smaller instead of bigger, meaning like we have to go back to the model of the internet as it was. Whereas people that come along like this parlor bullshit, like your alternative isn't going to be like create your own social media like conglomerate. That's not going to be the model. It's going to be like you have to actively work to find content again or find people. I feel that in some ways that's going to be the only way moving forward. But they'll try to make that impossible. The Jannies of
peer-to-peer internet entirely, all of it.
The only question is,
You know what I mean?
would
The big companies-
people be able to make money from that though? That's the only question.
Yeah.
Because if you have a very limited amount of initiates that could see your stuff, then that's going to limit how much advertising
I don't know,
revenue and
like I don't know how Urbit works, but apparently that was the goal that Urbit tried to set out for itself. Or whether they
maybe I'm a
succeeded or not.
brainlet, but I legitimately, because I've never looked into it, have no concept of what Urbit even is. I literally just see Urbit, the word, and people being like, Urbit, cool, blah blah, planets,
Urbit,
and I'm just like,
Urbit.
all right, I don't know what that is. Is it a new operating system?
I think they want it to be like a new like what the internet was going to be, but then the corporations came and smashed everything. So,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's turn the entire internet into a pseudo soul seek. It's like, do you know what soul seek is?
A pseudo soul seek? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so SoulSeek is this peer-to-peer like application that allows people to share music and files. It's been around since the 2000s.
It's like the thing that came after LimeWire. Like that was.
It's still alive. It's still alive. Very much alive.
I'm sure LimeWire still exists in some
LimeWire,
variety.
Morpheus,
no, but
Nutella.
SoulSeek is
Winimax,
especially
all
helpful.
those old things. Like they're all still floating around somewhere.
Yeah, it was just Napster that got killed, and I imagine that they have their like, you know, they have their versions of the like Twitter royalty that we have on our side of you know what I mean, like there's the communities will always find a way to exist. There will always be a way.
Yeah, some bastards got the whole archive of all the music ever somewhere.
Yeah,
just sitting
like,
on a server farm, just
like,
waiting for the next thing so you can upload it. Because
Exactly.
the guys who are that into piracy, they get off on it. Like they love it. They live for it. They're like, I'm gonna share everything.
They'll move to
I've
Eastern
got it
European
all.
countries to have.
they would literally
Yeah.
reroute their life to better.
There are many underground private trackers for very hard to find music and movies, especially from East Asia.
I'm on two great private trackers for movies. One is called KG. I don't know how to pronounce the full name.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And then the other is Pass the Popcorn. Both are great.
KG's has been very hard to get into for a while.
It's impossible to get into. I only got it. I've been a member now for 5-6 years. And someone from Letterboxd gave me an invite for,
There used to be this music tracker called what.cd.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, but it like died a while ago. I don't know. I don't remember how many years ago that was, but it got shut down. So
Yeah,
KG is the only thing that remains.
It's pretty funny that like so many people are like, I need to get into KG, where it's like, honestly, pretty much everything that's on KG is also on Pass the Popcorn, which is easier to get into.
Most things on KG are on SoulSeek too. What really had hard to find things was what.cd. There was a lot of stuff there that was impossible to find elsewhere.
I'm assuming that was just music.
Yeah, most of it was music. There's a lot of underground Japanese music that's really hard to find, like limited edition vinyls.
I'm too much of a normie with music, where everything I want for the most part is on Spotify except for Kanye leaks. So.
Yeah.
Everybody subscribe right fucking now. I was eating. I did not know that I was supposed to go in here and interrupt this gap of time. I don't even know what these things are, but they're really delicious. Look at them. Look at this vegetable. Does anybody know
zucchini?
Yes, it's a zucchini, exactly. Somebody should make a zucchini bikini, like an edible bikini made out of zucchinis. Anyway.
I'm sure it's been done.
Great conjunction.
Yeah, I believe so.
Great, God damn it. Okay, great conjunction. It's the combination of the planet Saturn and the planet Jupiter, like when they align, not combine, but when they just align together. So it's like an eclipse of some sort of these
Zeus
planets.
is fighting his father once again.
And it's supposed to happen like the last time was 800 years ago. But anyway, Michael Scotto, when he comes at 7 o'clock, an hour from now, he is going to get much more deeper into it. But one thing that I did want to say about it in the beginning is, do you guys think, people are talking about, oh my God, this thing's going to happen and we're all going to be enlightened. And I remember that there was this guy who, I don't know if he's a grifter. I mean, he was really big with the whole QAnon stuff. What is his name? Holy shit, I don't remember.
Are you talking about the hidden hand fellow? The one from the 2008
What did he
forum
post
posts?
about?
No. This was, okay. This is this guy, kind of young, blonde-haired dude who had a chart. And he always drew things on the chart, and he was pretty he's probably still pretty popular right now.
Scott Adams?
No. Much younger.
Young guy.
Glenn Beck?
No, this is like a QAnon guy. This is like a QAnon guy. I'm just trying to remember what his name right now is.
QAnon guy.
Yeah, Lionel gave him a lot of accolades, and I'm trying to remember his name right now. It's going to come to me. Yes?
Isn't the Nick Hinton guy?
No, not Nick Hinton.
Maybe
anybody in the chat, if anybody in the chat knows who the fuck I'm talking about, please write it down while I'm going to try to give myself like a little bit of a, anyway, what I'm getting at here is this guy was talking about how the sun is going to change in such a way that it's going to affect the frequency, and we're all going to be like a higher level of enlightenment.
I've heard a lot of people say that kind of stuff.
So modern hermeticist, you are in the spiritual know-how out of all of us here. What do you say about that? And I'm gonna find this dude's name.
I mean, people have been saying that stuff forever, and it just doesn't happen. The date gets pushed back, right? So,
Right.
But, I don't think there's going to be a mass cosmic awakening. That kind of thing happens on an individual level. It's non-simultaneously apprehended. It's not something that people just it's not caused by the stars or anything.
Well, what do the stars do?
It's rhizomatic.
If the stars do anything, what is it? And same thing with the planets.
They're signs. Well, it depends who you talk to, right? And what branch of astrology and what kind of astrologer. But by and large, people nowadays look at the stars as signs, as symbols for things. And so there are different emphases that come out during certain times, and that kind of gives a certain texture to life that people want to interpret, because everybody's desperate for meaning, and so they want to taxonomize life, and astrology is just one of the many ways you can taxonomize life, just the big 5 personality traits, or Jordan Peterson's maps of meaning, or the time cube. They're all just different ways of mapping reality and interfacing with it. And
are you attacking Myers-Briggs on the show?
No, I'm not attacking
boot him, son! Boot him!
Young is rolling in his grave.
Well, I
No,
will say I want
think the
to
You're gonna
person
attack
is
back on
something
astrology. I
unified.
think this is a big misconception with astrology. It's not. There's to an extent, to a degree, it is about your personality, but your birth chart and all the planets that are in your chart is your life story. So a collective
I think there's
awakening, I
something
don't think
to
could
it, but
happen because everyone's depending on your chart and where Aquarius is in everyone's chart, this Saturn entering into Aquarius is going to be different for everyone.
Right.
And if you just turned 30 this year, you are leaving your Saturn return. So
But I wanted to ask MH, like where did what we know as astrology come from? I know there's the Vedic astrology, but where is, like, I guess you could say, the Western version? Does it have like its roots within that sort of the era of like magic and occultism? Like, where do we know, like, the chart system? Like, where did that all come from? I'm kind of
So,
ignorant to that.
It's complicated, but like, to make the long story short, it starts in Babylon, let's say in the 5th century BC. But during that time, it's mostly just omens. So it's looking at things as like fortunate or unfortunate. And then when it gets into the Greeks, they mathematize it and they start to look at it geometrically, and they add scores to the debilities and the and so like the planets have dignities essentially that can be
Okay, that's right.
So essentially, the
countered, like,
prehistoric one is more the very basic archetypes of good
Almost
or
like
bad,
sympathetic
fast,
magic in
slow,
some-
light, dark, something very broad. And then as time
Mhm.
progressed, they started expanding and adding more detail to it. If I
yeah, well,
understand
there's
right.
also like hot, cold. Like, it's not even like good, bad
Right.
necessarily. It's more like,
But the
hot,
archetypes became
cold,
more
moist,
specific and
dry.
more nuanced,
Well,
like
where
our
does,
language at the same time.
Where's ether come in?
So ether comes in later, but well, I mean, the idea is it's the 5th element. There are 4 elements that compose all of matter in the Aristotelian system. It's actually the Empedoclean system, but it doesn't matter. And then the quintessence, the 5th essence, ether, is sort of like the spiritual substance that spirits and the spheres of the planets and even the planets themselves are made of. So it's a kind of rarefied substance that is not quite air, not quite fire.
Would you say it's
something-
like Shakti? Would you say that those two can be pretty much said to be the same thing?
Can you distill Shakti into alcohol and drink it and call it a spirit? Because that's where that comes from, right? So the idea is like, oh, I have this water that I can set on fire, but also it preserves earth, and also it evaporates really quickly, so it like turns into air. So it's this kind of substance that's been distilled from matter that is the spirit of the thing, and that is quintessence. So essentially, like, the heavens were made of alcohol in the medieval paradigm, or rather, you could distill the stuff of heavens from objects down below.
Well,
I'm pretty sure alcohol.
That's fascinating shit, man.
Pretty sure the root word for alcohol is the name of some Persian demon.
Sure.
Alcohol. Right?
Yeah.
By the way,
Depends on
we
the
have a
language,
comment.
right?
We have a comment from
Because all of the
is
spirits
Arabic.
come from the planets, right? So like the idea is that the planets pour in their rays, depending on the system, and these then get congealed into various substances in accordance with the configurations of the planets. And then those things have specific essences that can be distilled or removed from them. And so that's how alchemy and astrology cross over, right? Is this idea that spirits of things create substances, material substances, and they can be smashed apart and reconstructed or transmuted and so forth. But astrology, as we understand it, all of this great conjunction stuff, it comes from Mashallah and Abu Mashar. Abu Mashar was a Persian astrologer who was interested in these grand cycles of time. So in Plato's Timaeus, for example, you get the great Platonic year. But there are smaller units of time within that myth of eternal recurrence. And one of the ways that you can calculate cycles is taking the 2 furthermost planets in the solar system, the 2 slowest moving ones, and see every time that they come together in the sky in the same degree, then that is a conjunction. And those conjunctions, they occur every 20 years, and every 20 years it moves through a sign. Or rather, I think it's every 200 years it moves through a sign. And so we are embarking into the Great Conjunction in Aquarius, which is an air sign. And so that is going to be different from where we were, which was in an earth sign. So you'll see more emphasis, in the causal understanding of things. We'll be more aware of things like telecommunications, or things like surveillance is a big one. I think surveillance is a big thing that will be indicated by this conjunction. But
medicine too.
historically, guys like Marsilio Ficino, like astrologers that I study in my spare time, they looked at the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter as this reunion of wisdom and divine law. So Saturn being the wisdom part, and then Jupiter being the divine law part. So Ficino, for example, held off on publishing his complete translation of Plato in Latin in 1484, which was when there was a great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. And he thought this would usher in a whole new golden age with the works of Plato coming in, and there would be some sort of spiritual transformation. So there are often people claiming these great spiritual transformations, these great changes, and you can say there is always change happening, and that this is a good map for understanding it. Whether it causes the changes is another thing. And this got also debated in the Renaissance, where you have guys like Pico della Mirandola who are against astrology, and they think that all of these predictions that people made, that, like, for example, the Great Conjunction would predict the end of Christianity, that didn't happen. So astrology, as Abu Mashar taught it, must be bunk. And so lots of the anti-astrological arguments of today, they all go back to these arguments that Pico della Mirandola made. But it is a very concrete tradition that we can trace all the texts back to people writing in Arabic for the most part, debating philosophical ideas from late antiquity. And yeah.
Is that where they get this this whole Bethlehem star interpretation? Have you heard that one going around?
Yeah, so there's a lot of theorization about that, the Stella Magorum, the star of the Magi, and there have been lots of different ideas about it. Some people, they chalk it up to this conjunction idea, which would put the birth of Jesus, I think something like 4 BC. But again, I don't take these things as necessarily factual, descriptions of how the stars were in the sky, but more just about the importance of the nativity, and why it was recognized in the story by Zoroastrian priests and things like that, or the master astrologers.
Speaking of the nativity, now, Gio, as a warning, this may be kind of heretical, but I want to read you one interpretation of the birth of Jesus. So, the virgin birth is recorded as having taken place on December 25th, or a certain secret society celebrated on Christmas Eve at midnight of December 24th. Mystics established this date to mark the birth of Jesus because it was keeping with the great earthly benefits this astronomical change signifies. The astronomical observations observed, which prompted... Oh, and it's great, Hotep Sophia is here. The astronomical observations which prompted the authors of this drama to use these dates were all made in the northern hemisphere, so from an astronomical point of view, the reverse would be true if seen from the southern latitudes. However, this story was recorded in the north and therefore was based on northern observation. Man very early discovered that the sun played a most important role in his life, and without the sun, physical life as you know it would not be, so these most important dates in the story of the life of Jesus are based upon the position of the sun as seen from the earth in the northern latitudes. After the sun reaches its highest point in the heavens in June, it gradually falls southward, taking with it the life of the plant world, so that by December almost all of nature has been stilted. Should the sun continue to fall southward, all nature would be stilted unto death. However, on December 25th, the sun begins its great move north, bringing with it the promise of salvation and life anew for the world. Each day, as the sun rises higher in the heavens, man gains confidence in being saved from death by cold and starvation, for he knows that as it moves northward and crosses the equator, all nature will rise again, will be resurrected from its long winter sleep. Our day is measured from midnight to midnight, and since the visible day begins in the east and ends in the west, the ancients said the day was born of that constellation which occupied the eastern horizon at midnight. On Christmas Eve, or midnight of December 24th, the constellation Virgo is rising on the eastern horizon. So it is recorded that this Son and Savior of the world was born of a virgin. It is also recorded that this Virgin Mother was traveling through the night, and she stopped at an inn and was given the only available room among the animals, and there in the manger, where the animals fed, the shepherds found the Holy Child. The animals with whom the Holy Virgin was lodged are the holy animals of the zodiac. There, in the constantly moving circle of astronomical animals, stands the Holy Mother Virgo, and there you will see her every midnight of December 24th, standing on the eastern horizon as the Son and Savior of the world starts his journey northward. So, there we go. I don't know what you think of this, but that is an astrological interpretation of the birth of Jesus.
I don't think this is necessarily heretical, because here's the thing. I know you're asking Geo, but I've noticed this a lot with religious texts. They tend to synchronize with so many different possible interpretations. And I think this is just another manifestation of the idea that man finds the omens he wants. Really, like, at the end, the way you define things is what ends up defining reality in a really funny way. So just because it actually aligns perfectly with this description doesn't necessarily make it any less true.
So would it be like an as above, so below type of deal?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going for.
Yeah, I could see that. Gio, what do you think?
I don't I don't know. I'm not exactly
I don't want to put you on the spot here.
But... No, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm trying to. I've been looking up recently on just like I don't know about whether the importance of the actual date itself in theology and Catholic theology in particular. I don't know. I'm sort of I'm sort of I think I don't know if I recall, maybe modern hermeticists knows more, but I think even like theologians knew like that the exact date wasn't like total. I mean, of course they did. Wasn't exactly like the 25th of December. Like I don't know.
I've seen a lot of astrologers place it at the 7th of January.
Yeah, it was
around
more,
that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Eastern Orthodox Christians celebrate Christmas on the 7th of January.
Don't all Orthodox people celebrate it like around January, or is that?
I don't know if it's
January 20th.
I'm aware that Eastern
That's what I
Orthodox people do it because all the Christians around me are Eastern Orthodox.
Well, you get Greek Orthodox, you got the Eastern Orthodox, you got a bunch of different types of Orthodox that are. I don't know if they all do the same thing. But yeah, January 20th was always. My dad was kind of like edgy with this kind of shit. Like I remember one year he was like, that's not when Jesus was born.
But I don't know. I think that I think when we talk about all of this, I think there's some significance to astrology or whatever. But I agree with MH. I don't think there's a predictive power per se, but rather it's sort of like there's harmonies and there's synchronicities that happen throughout one's life, and it's really up to not just. There's a huge part of what you want to see, like what you want to read into it. But I feel that certain things, when you talk about, I think like to steal Alf's point, I feel that it is true that different peoples have different, not just different belief systems, but also the belief systems that they adopt are suited to their temperaments and their geographic location, their moment in time, and their episteme. I feel that there's a cosmic significance to all of this. Like, why do you think that certain peoples have gravitated towards Islam besides like the material conditions of, Islam spreading through conquest and so forth, or Christianity spreading through conquest. I feel that there's
I think
something
it's just
deeper
they
than
confuse
just the
women,
material.
Gino.
Well, maybe I no, but I feel that there's something deeper than just the material conditions of why certain beliefs spread. I feel that there's something, like I said this on Twitter once. I said, your gut biome dictates more what you believe in politically than just like I
Yeah.
read about ideologies and this is what I believe. There's something, there's sort of like this ether that translates like this sort of state of unknowing between what I developed into in terms of my beliefs or my politics or whatnot, or who I am as a person, and that original sort of what led you down the path towards your sort of epistemological or ontological disposition in life. I feel that there's got to be some sort of intangible quality there. It's almost like a platonic remembrance of what you yourself deep down know in your soul, or I don't know. I'm just being too.
No, I think you're right. That's basically what. Whenever I get in these conversations, it always comes down to that. It's just it's there, but you can't describe. Like it's just unknowable. It's unknowable. I'm okay with that.
I think it's kind of like the whole predictive nature of this. It's like saying that you predicted that the ripple was going to get larger. Like, you know what I mean? It's like yeah, it's not necessarily a like I'm going to predict that something is going to happen here. It's sort of like watching the tide and predicting where the wave is going to end.
It's not like predicting if it's going to rain next Tuesday. It's predicting that it's going to be warmer in the summer and cooler in the winter.
Yeah, basically, like it's a more broad strokes. Like I don't think daily horoscope makes that much sense. I think broad brush painting is a little bit more. It makes more sense to me in terms of the ability for people to make predictions. Like, don't make specific predictions. It's a great way to lose.
But this goes to everything: belief systems and ideologies and things that happen in particular time. I mean, in some ways, I mean, I guess you could say this is maybe not a white pill, but a clear pill, whatever the fuck, about the reason that we're going through what we're seeing now in modernity is that not that it had to happen, but rather I think there's a reason for everything. I don't know what that reason is, but I feel that, why did Christianity take off the way it did? Because I feel that truly there was a moment in time where there's a culmination of different forces that come about, and the world and existence itself needed that to happen. And I feel that, this is why people talk about traditionalism. I think a vulgar Traddist approach would be, well, what is oldest is the best. When in reality, tradition, I feel, isn't just a matter of age, but it's a matter of what suits this particular people or this particular disposition at this time. And to just say, like, to go back, then we would go back we would start Varge posting where we'd be like, well, the most oldest European Indo-European animist belief systems, that's like the real tradition. Well, by the way, I don't know what this thing is. The Chapo people are going after Varge now. I don't know.
By the way, Gio, speaking of the oldest, over here to the point that you were modern hermeticists were making about everybody having like different astrological charts. So this is a compilation from Göbekli Tepe, which for those who don't know, it was discovered in Turkey, and it's supposed to be like over 9,000 years old. Over 9,000!
11,000 apparently years old.
11,000, holy shit. Well, this goes to what Graham Hancock was talking about this giant cataclysm that wiped out a lot of advanced civilizations. People had to start over. Here you have these very recognizable little purses. We always see these purses. We see them in all kinds of ancient structures. And here we see this being aligned to the stars. So, and speaking of stars, we have a star joining us right now in the world of physics. So I am so happy to introduce Eric, because I think that a lot of these conversations, and by the way, why can't I change the view? Hold on, I think I have to admit first, what is going on with Zoom? This is crazy.
Yeah, I haven't seen you the whole time, Lev.
I've been seeing Lev. Works on my machine.
Yeah, no,
you can change to grid view so you can like see everybody at all times.
I got to change the screen, but right now something has happened. I think Guys, I apologize for this. I think because I'm using the stupid laptop, it's not making me properly switch. Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, it thinks my mouse is in another area. But anyway, and we also have Hotep Sophia here, and we have Tsuyami announcing all the people who have made it here. I'm so grateful for everybody to be here. And guys, don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe right now.
I will do shots.
Hell yeah,
Don't
he's gonna do
subscribe.
shots.
If you don't
Yeah,
subscribe,
Shut up. Yes,
Don't
subscribe. Yes, subscribe.
if you don't subscribe, Sunyami will kiss you.
So
Oh.
Gay as fuck, dude.
That's how it works, man. I don't make the rules.
If you don't subscribe soon, I'm gonna commit some horrible war crimes in Minecraft, all right?
Jesus Christ.
And in real life.
and in real life. Oh boy. Okay, so Eric, he's joining us right now with audio. I don't know if there is a webcam. Eric, do you have a webcam or just the audio?
I have the webcam too. I just gotta put it up real quick.
All right, sweet. So for those of you who don't know, one of the things that I really wanted to do in a lot of these streams is being able to bring together people who are both into more of like the mystical, metaphysical kind of things, as well as with the more, I'd say, grounded, physical-oriented topics, and be able to see where we can meet and where we agree on, where we disagree on. So we have Haka Says, and Haka Says, can you briefly state your view of the world? And the topic here is going to be about, before we get to Michael, who's coming in at 7, it's basically going to be about where do you see the limitations of what we currently know to be possible in the realm of physics, technology, things of that nature. So Haka Says, go for it.
That's a good question. I would say that from a technical standpoint, the models between, we'll say, the electric view and the physical view are not that far off. They generally use the same equations, but when you view them from a certain perspective, you're opening or closing particular doors. So the currently accepted model is essentially that certain interactions of particulate matter can lead to things like electricity and magnetism, whereas the 19th century, the J.J. Thomson, Oliver Heaviside, the Nikola Tesla era type view was sort of the opposite, is that interactions of electricity and magnetism is what leads to matter. So it's the same formula, is just inverted. So I'm sort of a student of Eric Dollard and, Tesla's work indirectly, so it leads in a similar direction, but I think it has a lot more possibilities than the current view that we have. I think the best thing we have right now would be dark matter. That's 30, 40 years of failed experiments. No warp drive, no anti-gravity, no fun stuff seems to be possible under the current system, so they're just not as interesting.
What if it's both at the same time? Isn't that like the essence of it?
It could be.
The matter leads to the electric effect.
It could be a co-creative process, but the system we use now is sort of mechanistic and eliminates a lot of those possibilities.
So I would be very interested in hearing from Eric. I'm not sure what the webcam situation is, but regardless, it would be great.
We probably don't disagree as much as you think.
Well, this is why we're here. I mean, I want to get somebody. And let me just tell you guys a little bit about Eric. So Eric, he is a physics and mathematics student with an insatiable curiosity aspiring to get a PhD in physics. And he says, let's learn from one another. So this is exactly what we do here at the BTR stream. And I am honored to have Eric here, as well as everybody here. Once again, everybody, please subscribe right now. Help us get to the very top of the totem pole of these live streams.
Subscribe if you want to see some fucking shots. Come on, guys.
Exactly. So, Eric, what do you think?
Can you ask the question one more time? I was trying to fiddle with the camera when I was doing
Sure. No
it.
problem at all. Haka Says, could you repeat that, please?
The whole thing?
No. I meant the question. The question.
What?
Are you?
Thematic question, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, so the thematic question would be, what is the limitation that you currently see of technology and basically the physical universe?
Oh, where do I start? My goodness. I mean, I think he did a good job of talking about how dark matter hasn't really described much, and it's kind of a placeholder right now for a lot of failed hypotheses. But I would say our limitations when it comes to technology. Many people think that it's with particle accelerators and things of that nature, but I think it's more so going towards failing to come with a solution for nuclear fusion. Because if we could go to more towards the area of nuclear energy and things of that nature, I think we would see like a.
Would you agree that it's sort of the mantra that's pushed nowadays is that all of the big discoveries in science are already done? The only things that are left are the ones that require the massive physics degrees, the $20 billion hadron colliders, the really expensive, 15th decimal place to calculate atomic mass. That basically all of the important stuff's been done already.
Yeah, can't do it unless you have a sun's worth of energy.
That it's like you can't have a backyard tinkerer, come up with I don't know, inertial electrostatic fusion for less than $1,000. That's just not possible. It's you need the $50 billion tokamak reactor. That might work for an entire 60 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. There's some limitations there when it comes to what we can do. What would they call it? Backyard physics or tabletop physics. But I mean, I don't think that everything has been done in that way. Would
you agree that that's one of the common themes that's sort of pushed these days?
Sort of. I would say sort of by some people. I think there's a split though. There's a split between physicists such as I'm going to slaughter her name so bad, and please forgive me. Sabine Hasenfelder, I think. She often touches on the trouble of physics, and such as string theory. She doesn't think that it's a really good theory, and that it's leading to decades worth of useless work and all this other stuff. She touches on the fact that we need to put our energies elsewhere, and we need more of an economic literacy in physics in order to attack problems in the right way, because she thinks that physics has been stagnant ever since the 70s, with Bell's theorem and all that other stuff. So
I'd say about 30s, 40s, but yeah, same thing. Would you see the schism mostly between the particle physicist and the quantum physicist?
I think it's more so towards theoretical physicists, like going towards
string theory.
Yeah, the
virtual
string,
particles,
quantum loop gravity, and all that other stuff. I mean, there's a lot of great work there being done, but it's mostly mathematical work. It's not theoretical physics.
Essentially, these are things that can't really be tested except mathematically.
Exactly.
Not only that, but these are theories. We'll say string theory, that you can't build anything with it. It's a piece of math on paper. It's on a computer. You can't make an engine with it. You can't make a reactor with it. It's sort of useless for daily life.
Yes, it's outside of our budget, but it's also outside of our technological progress. Like, it will take years and years for us to get there in order to test these things, because, first it started in 10 dimensions, like where string theory was started at, and then when it graduated to superstring theory, then it was like 12 dimensions,
but it's like 12 dimensions on there's like a power of 100 in there too. It's like there's so many different solutions that you might as well just model every universe.
Exactly.
It's not practical.
Gio?
Is string theory like the settled model for most theoretical physicists, or they're still debating string
theory?
You're
going to want to answer this one.
No.
No. It's a very small sect of theoretical physicists that study that.
But would you say it gets the most media attention?
Sure.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah, it's because it sounds
the Big Bang Theory,
coolest.
guys.
Yeah, and it makes you like parallel fucking universes. There's a universe where you have a 18-inch dick.
Well, someone's saying
I fucking love science.
It's saying we solved the universe.
But
granted, it's a fun theory. It's a fun theory to explore. It's very fun.
But on a practical level, it's not testable. It's not falsifiable. It's not scientific, basically. So it puts it on the same tier of
Well,
simulation theory or any of the
Yeah.
theistic theories. It's one of those what ifs.
Well,
Exactly.
we had a string theory before. It used to be called Gnosticism. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I want to kind of get into that portion of it too. So before we were talking about the ether, and I know that the idea of the ether has been poo-pooed in the scientific establishment for a pretty long time. But I wonder, and this is a question to everyone, but I'm also very interested in hearing modern hermeticists, along with Eric and Haka says, in particular. Do you guys think that there will be eventually a merging together of science with a lot of these various spiritual concepts that have been recorded and done through mystery schools and things of that nature? Let's start with yeah. Yeah?
You want to start that, or you want me to?
Oh, you could start it.
Okay. So the ether, the historical definition of the ether is medium which transfers light, or the media that translates light. So when you think of sound waves in the air, the atmosphere that the air is surrounded, that the air is the medium that transmits the sound waves. So that's how we hear each other. The historical idea was that, well, there's got to be something that light has to be passing through. So the idea is that there was a very rarefied, a very thin gas that permeated basically everything, and that gas was what allowed light to transfer from place to place. There were some competing theories, and most of them were basically dismissed or falsified in the early 1900s. And nowadays, the word has sort of some negative connotations, and on a lot of sides, it's seen as more of a pseudo-scientific. It's seen as a synonym for magic. There aren't a lot of people that are using the term ether in a scientific sense. They're using it in a much more mystical sense, which may or may not be accurate, but I don't know. It sort of hurts both sides, I think, unless we clearly define what we mean by ether. What are the properties? Does it, can it be compressed? Can it be rarefied? Is it thicker in some places than others? Does it move? Is it static? How does it interact with magnetism or electricity or gravity or any of these things? I think from the mystics, they could gain a lot by thinking in a more scientific sense. And that's about all I got.
Isn't this just quantum field theory? But
it is functionally equivalent, but that it doesn't use the bad word. It doesn't use the swear word that is called ether.
Well, the other
you could
thing
call
I
it quantum vacuum fabric, or even if you call it Einstein's space-time, these could be called ethers because these are the mediums that transfer light. But
the other thing that I want to add is when we're talking about this, I think that there is a big divide today among people who, let's say, would, and I don't blame either side regardless of how they want to interpret this, but one side sees everything as being much more physical, and whatever we're experiencing right now, this would be pretty much the limit of what human beings can experience.
The mechanistic and the spiritual, those two dichotomies, right?
Yes, exactly. So what I'm curious about is whether through the scientific process we would be able to bridge the gap between these two. And Eric, I'm curious what you think of this, as well as your thoughts on the ether, and just basically trying to see, can we reach some kind of agreement, or at least start the process to see what may be out there in the spiritual realm through the scientific process, or is that completely impossible? And what do you think?
Well, I think anything is possible, but I think when it comes to the ether stuff, when we're talking about like a channel that, light travels to distant objects or whatnot, the reason why it was shown to be, or that relativity provided a better model for that, it didn't necessarily say that it's wrong, like completely wrong, and that's it. It just said that it wasn't a good enough explanation, like as good enough as like relativity is. And I agree with that. And the reason why I don't think it's like quantum field theory, because when we're talking about quantum field theory, we're more so dealing with different fields, and we're dealing with things at a subatomic level in a different way. It's not necessarily this universal channel that everything kind of passes through in order to get from one part of the universe to another. So I think relativity in that way, it's the more superior theory. But in the future, yeah, I mean, there can be something that comes up, and the ether theory might come back and make a comeback and, be the more accurate version. But according to certain tests, I just don't see much evidence for it as of right now. And then also, I would like to say, when it comes to the mystical stuff, I mean, like anything is possible, but where my stance is when it comes to that is, I think the burden of proof largely falls on the mystical stuff. And I know that that's not how the mystical side might say, like, we don't go by that, we go by faith, or we go by some other type of metric. But to me, to adopt something, I need a lot of evidence in order to believe that to be true. And like, let's say, for instance, if we're talking about consciousness, a lot of people think that consciousness is like something that doesn't just reside in the brain. It's like a spirit in a way, like it's like everywhere, and maybe our consciousness is a part of the universe and all this other stuff.
Psychism.
Yeah, there's all types of
ESP and all the woo-woo science.
Yeah. And I mean, like, who knows? Maybe that could be right. But my thing is, like, let's find some evidence to back that up, that, outside observers can all like agree upon and measure. And I haven't seen much evidence of that.
Yeah, like imagine there was an electrical engineer and he made a box, and it's just a little black box with a light on it. And all that happens is when you concentrate on the box, the light turns on, and that's it. And say a schematic or something, they showed exactly how that works. But I think that would be something that would change the world in a certain way. Something mechanistic, repeatable.
I don't think it's possible to prove these things in a direct causative manner, right? You can draw correlations, but to actually prove them causally is impossible. Like, I don't think that through the scientific method you can come to elucidate any sort of spiritual truth. Instead, you can either affirm it, or you can reach limitations that might indicate to you that, maybe the scientific method isn't what's needed to find this truth. Why? Because the scientific method it's built upon certain assumptions, and it can't prove things outside of those assumptions, and those assumptions are entirely based on what is physically observable. So it will not give you results that go
I say, well,
outside
maybe
of
it's
that.
more of a if it is proved in a sense, it would be a more statistical sense. It would be something of,
exactly.
Well, there would be another way
ratio.
of proving it, though. This is something I was talking about earlier. So people have this idea of the astral realm being this realm that people could go into, and you could create whatever you want there, whatever. The idea here is that if you were to go into this place, meet somebody else who's also there, exchange emails, and then write to that person and have that be proven somehow that these people were completely unrelated, they never knew anything about each other before, and if that could be done on a mass scale, then at least we would be able to say that the human mind is capable of going somewhere where the body does not reside and is able to
you
communicate.
could test for it. Yeah, I mean, you put two people on the same ayahuasca trip in different parts of the world and see if they talk to each other.
Yeah,
Share
my
phone
thing is,
numbers,
like, if we can detect it, why can't we measure it? You know what I mean? Like, that's my big thing. It's like,
because there's no way to verify it outside of the two people you might have doing the experiment.
It's non-material. I think
that's the problem. Like, okay, the two people doing the experiment. Let's say hypothetically that someone does this astral projection experiment and they do communicate. How do you prove it beyond the experience of these two people? You get a third person. How do you prove it beyond the experience of these three people? That you can't. It keeps going.
I suppose it's that because consciousness is subjective, then it makes it very difficult to objectively gauge some of these things.
Well, I would say
Go-
astral project to a place or somewhere where an outside observer can measure, like,
or let's just say the
maybe
dream world.
the dream world.
Well, when you dream, you're in a different type of reality that has different rules applied to it.
Here's how I can imagine it. Let's say there is a balloon, and somebody puts their hands through the balloon, and somebody else puts their hands through the balloon too. The fingers touch within the balloon through this rubber protective layer. Neither of these know that there is this other outside dimension beyond the balloon. All they know is rubber touching rubber. This is kind of how I imagine, if there is this outer realm, how it would work, and why exactly we can't really bring it to the fore here right now. I could be wrong, but it's like...
Well,
yeah.
Have you guys lucid dreamt?
Sometimes.
I have, yeah.
Yes, but not usefully.
People who do that
astral projected before.
Yeah,
but...
people who do that extensively. I haven't spent extensive amounts of time doing this, but from what I have, first of all, I've encountered beings in my dreams that were not dream people. And I don't know how to describe what a dream person is, but there's people in your dreams that are not. They're just like they're basically objects. They look like people and they kind of like do stuff like a video game NPC, but they're not a person. You can make them do things, you can talk to them, you can order them to do things, and they will do it. But yes, Lev, I see you. But sometimes
like machine elves.
Something else that's serendipitous that seems separate from you.
That are they don't work like all the other ones. And it's always possible that that's also part of your dream, right? But when you're lucidly dreaming, to encounter something that isn't following the rules of your dream is extremely weird, because when you're lucid dreaming, you're basically a god. You control the space, you control everything. And then to meet something that doesn't work that way is like, okay, what is that? Is that a person? Like, who is that? Yeah, is that a demon? Like, what is that? An extra? Like, is that some sort of extra dimensional consciousness? Like, what am I interacting with here? I think it's probably possible because people report this with lucid dreaming, that they have like people meet each other on purpose in dreams, which is just like breaks everything basically. If that's real, then what is dreaming? How does that work?
I think a lot of these things are technically testable, but because they're already considered impossible, there's not a lot of effort spent towards it.
Exactly.
It's essentially, if there was someone that wanted to test for this type of thing, he wouldn't get any funding or budget, and he would probably be laughed out of the university.
I'm fairly sure that the intelligence agencies did this stuff. CIA.
Oh yeah, they do.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah, with the men who stare at goats and all that.
Yeah, that's the to me. Men who stare at ghosts is the controlled. It's the controlled. It's the controlled op, right? It's that happened, but it was totally bullshit, and all those people are crazy.
Yeah, they made it out to be a silly comedy.
Yeah, I know the guy, John Ronson, the guy who wrote it. He's also the guy who went to the Bohemian Grove with Alex Jones. Okay. Sorry.
What movie are we talking about?
Mike Hansen?
No, his name is John Ronson. Is his name?
No, I thought Mike Hansen went to Bohemian Grove with Alex Jones.
Maybe that guy was also there, but no, it was John Ronson. He's this little mousy British writer.
Wait, that was a book first, right?
Yes, yeah, he wrote the book.
I forgot about that.
He wrote the book.
Of the Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, well, the book is based on his, or the movie's based on his book, right? So this concept is like, the CIA totally did this crazy shit, but it didn't work, obviously, because none of that's real, right? But that's not actually what their shit says. Like when these things got declassified,
or the bits that we do see.
Yeah, all the documents are like, no, this stuff is totally works and it's really creepy and weird. Like they would bring people to a state of near death, which is like, this is how a lot of, from what I understand, this is how a lot of initiation, I guess, rituals would work in,
you could even say baptism. At least Rupert Sheldrake, who I also want to get into briefly. He talked about how baptism was like drowning the person under the water.
It's the same. It's a living through a death experience type thing, right? It's almost like it's symbolically there, even if the person's not literally drowning, like in Game of Thrones. So the idea here is like these things were done. It's just that the results weren't necessarily told to the public. You know, like the government does a lot of this shit, but they just don't tell you what happened. And you know, there's like millions of rumors of like these fucking like, you know, Chinese triplet psychics. Like there's these ideas have existed for a really long time of this, like, you know, governments keep it, you know, that's basically what what's that Netflix show?
Well, we'll say an
All the
intelligence
kids.
agency wouldn't admit that there was a tool that put their own nation at risk.
Yes, for sure. They're not going to say like, yeah, you can totally just like
They say,
astrally
yeah, you can totally
project-
find our state secrets, and
Yeah, you can totally
you
astrally
can find the
project
launch
into
codes
the-
and
into the
somehow
pow-
manage
yeah.
to launch an ICBM with your brain
Yeah.
or something. No, they're not going to say that.
No.
Whether it was true or not, they would not
They would never tell you.
commit
They
to
would
that
never
type
tell
of
you.
thing.
They
Well,
wouldn't-
two things. First, Remus, I would love for you, if possible, to send Eric. If you're interested in this, I would love for you to see some of these documents that have been declassified,
Oh, yeah, let me
and
try to
curious
find.
what you would think about them.
Oh yeah,
Because-
definitely. I'm open.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Because like when it comes to these conversations, this is something we've experienced before. Where like I want to make sure that even if people are, and I want people to be skeptical of all this stuff, that there is a baseline that can be achieved by all of us talking about this, where at least we can agree that these documents exist, that these are the things that they've talked about. Because I don't think anything's that hidden, mostly so much as most people just are too busy and they just do other things and they don't really care that much.
So could I
yeah.
paraphrase the ones that I'm aware of? Is
Sure,
it
I'm
the
just gonna post it-
the
I'm gonna
D-class
post it in the
CIA
chat.
stuff? It
Cool.
basically summarizes as yeah, there's some really weird shit going on here, and more research is needed, and that's usually where it
that's
ends.
That's what they allow out, right? As you would imagine, it's like this is what's
There's some
out. It's
weird
like-
shit, and let's
yeah.
keep looking into it.
The one that's very famous that I'm going to put in the chat right now is called Analysis and Assessment of Gateway Process. Okay, this
Oh
one,
yeah, I've read
a lot
that
of people
one.
have heard of this one. If you've read it, it's extremely interesting. But this essentially shows that there's at least the, you know, probably the most powerful institution on the planet thought that this had enough merit to warrant actually looking into it. So I'm gonna post that. It's PDF.
I loved how the description of the world as a hologram,
Yes, and
Well,
how God
man-
works. All
and
of it.
tying that up with Planck length and all of that. I think that was fucking amazing.
It's extremely interesting, this document. Yeah.
Every
I want-
conspiracy is real, by the way.
Yeah, they're all real.
Every
wanna go
real.
to-
Even the conflicting ones. Those are the ones that are
Yeah,
supposed to be real.
Hollow Earth, Time Cube,
Agartha.
Cube Earth. They're all
Flat Earth.
simultaneously
real.
They're all
yeah.
true. There's
Yeah.
just many different versions of the Earth. That's all.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
perceptible.
Well, that's
you know,
multiverse,
We're
right?
all living
There is a
on the
multiverse.
different versions of the Earth. We're just being projected holograms onto all of them. So,
Yeah.
you know, Cube Earth, Flat Earth, Hollow Earth, all of it. It all looks exactly the fucking same to any of us. You know,
Yeah.
I could be on
The-
fucking Flat Earth and Lev could be on Cube Earth, and we're just being projected onto the
Yeah,
other
dude.
Earth. Wonder
Have
how
you heard
touching
of-
and sex works? Don't worry about it. It's just
Spoilers.
gonna fry your brain. It just fucking works.
Or you could have a
You know,
schizophrenic episode, not even be here right now.
Yeah,
You know,
Me
it's-
every day, Geo. Every fucking day.
I wouldn't
sum.
worry about
Schizophrenic
it.
episode.
Zero sum. Like,
This isn't
like-
real.
It's called non-Euclidean geometry.
Yeah,
Well, I
like
don't know. What do
fucking
you guys think of like the Gödel multiple worlds theory? Like, it's compelling. I guess it's just as compelling as like transhumanists that talk about ancestor simulations. But
It makes sense.
it does make sense, I feel, but at the same time, I don't know. That's again,
I
this
feel
is
like
all
it's-
just different levels of
I feel
Gnosticism.
like it just introduces the horrifying idea that there's like a graveyard of worlds, of universes that like failed.
No,
It's like-
but it would be the way people think of it would be like Du Bois's Infinite Library, where every book would be like just even slightly different. So you could have like a book of like Shakespeare's Hamlet, but like a word is missing in one of them.
Yeah, and each
If
word
you
is
get-
missing. I get it. The
Yeah.
infinite permutations. I
So
understand.
you would have like a world that's almost one-to-one copy of this one, but then I don't know the
But Geo's hair is
lamppost
blonde.
would be
Yeah,
my hero would
yeah.
be blonde, or the lamppost would be black instead of gray. I don't know. Like when you get into stuff like that, I feel that I don't know. I feel like the popularization of science has ruined science because now people can have
That's
this,
the
like,
popular idea. Yeah.
yeah, like this Reddit like weed brain idea of like.
Well, I kind of want to get into
world.
that
I
with,
could
with,
talk
with Eric.
about that.
So,
Oh, yeah, go.
so what I'm curious about, Eric. So, since you are in the scientific world, I mean, right now you are studying to be a physicist, and while this may not be the case, I assume that you do hang out with other scientists or other people who are within that field. Is that correct?
Barely. To be honest.
Okay.
The fucking
Yeah,
Oh,
nerds.
God
dude.
damn it. I was just about to. Okay. What I'm getting to here is that I don't know if you're familiar with the I fucking love science memes.
Oh yeah,
Where
yeah,
they.
100%.
I don't
Memes.
think
The scientists
are
versus
those
science
people, though.
cheerleaders?
I think it's like people who don't do science who are those people who are like
Oh, 100%. It has
Yeah.
to be because the headlines are so sensationalized, and I'm just like, where did you guys get that from? Like, I read the research, or possibly my friend has done the research, and you guys pulled something totally out of your butt from it. So yeah, I mean, I'm aware of the memes of those pages and the popular science stuff, and it does bother me a little bit.
What is your thoughts on the multiverse hypothesis?
Unsubstantiated. This is in short. That's my short answer.
Okay.
The long answer is I don't think that according to current models.
Well, we're
where
beyond
we're going.
testability at that point. It's more of like a philosophical question of a matrix reality or simulation reality or a multiverse. These are more philosophical questions.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm trying to find a way to, because when I think about things in a more philosophical way, like it's still, because I was doing some review on like quantum foam. Do y'all know what quantum foam is and all that?
Well, I've
Do a
heard of it, but
TLDR.
Isn't it just
Yeah.
the ether?
Just for
basically?
for everyone.
Is it the ether?
Basically that.
It's basically the stuff that space and time is
Made out of.
hypothesized and made up of. Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, like when I think about that, when I think of inflation, even though inflation has its issues too, I don't think that the universe requires that in order to be what it is. I mean, for instance, if the universe was more so like the whole Big Bounce theory, where it like expands and then contracts, expands and contracts, it will act as if it's a multiverse, or not act as if it's a multiverse. It will act as like an infinite series of universes, because it comes and then it collapses due to gravity, and then a new universe starts and it expands and then it collapses again, and so on and so forth. So that could be a possibility too. I haven't 100% like established my views when it comes to.
What do you think? Oh, go ahead, Hakase.
Multiverse. The problem that I generally have with it is, I mean, we know that it's treated as a theory of everything, so it's supposed to be the thing that explains reality, gets rid of religion and all that. It explains.
That's red flag number one.
Doesn't make any sense.
It explains the way God, right? That's the thing.
In the multiverse.
Well, I was going to ask.
So wouldn't there be a universe where God exists in the
so
multiverse?
the problem that I have, the problem I have with multiverse is essentially the requirements of it. Is that you require an infinite number of universes at an infinite number of points in time and an infinite number of combinations, and those are probably real infinities. So we're talking about infinity to the power of infinity to the power
material
of infinity.
Infinities, yeah.
Essentially, multiple layered material infinities, not just one. We're talking about infinities of infinities. So we're dealing with a certain thing that may not be. It may not be possible, or say it might be possible, but it doesn't seem feasible.
Those are just,
at least with our understanding.
This is like metaphysics for people who don't believe in God.
So we have a really big universe, but our universe has what appears to be a finite size with a finite number of atoms, a finite number of quarks and Plancks, and a certain fixed structure to it. But when we're talking about a multiverse, we're talking about an infinite of infinite of infinite, and I think that starts to break down. It starts to not make sense, because you need, where do you get the kind of energy required to create an infinite of infinity of infinity? You're not just creating one universe, you're creating infinite universes. And you're not just creating infinite universes, you're creating infinite universes at infinite points in time. So
Yeah.
like,
it's
where does the energy come
yeah,
from?
It's like what I'll never forget this. My
From the
my
energy
But
grad
you know,
Energy
student
someone
of
could
the
say,
age.
where does the energy come from to make anything, though? Like,
Yeah, like God.
Well,
God
it's
can
easy to
answer
cop
all
out
of
and
those
say, well, you know, our
questions.
universe
Yeah.
came from a big bang.
No, but this is what I mean. This is
that's
I'll never
that's
forget
one
my
little miracle.
By the way,
grad
guys,
supervisor
we
said
have
this
well,
once.
I
He
disagree
said,
there. I don't think that's a miracle. I think that's kind of based on, basically snapshots of the early universe, which is the CMB. But if you were to say like what has happened before the Big Bang, and then people come up.
Well, I
with
mean the
it,
action itself too, because we'll
What do you
say essentially, the laws of thermodynamics and all of these laws of physics apply, except for this one time. And in that case, I consider it a miracle because the rules of physics, the rules of reality don't apply during the
"Well, no, but I
actual.
was going to ask
actual
you,
initiating event.
what part of the Big Bang you said at this
No,
one
the
time,
actual
like-
the serendipitous event, the actual initiation. Not there's always the inflation and the heat
The
and the
moment of
progression since
explosion.
then, but the
moment
the
of pop.
instigating factor, the
The
pop.
nut, dude.
Yeah, well, the Big Bang theory, it
Nut.
starts from the moment that expansion happened.
That's
all
what
the way
I
into
mean.
now.
I mean
Yeah.
I mean the initiating event.
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
That
See,
sort
so
of gets
they could
glossed
re-
over.
The
We're on the same
eponymous
page.
bang. Yeah.
The
but
bang
this
itself.
is what I wanted to ask you guys about because it's like my grad supervisor said once in philosophy. He said, it's like this Big Bang talk. It's almost like metaphysics for people who don't believe in God. But I guess so. But what do you guys think of? What do you guys think of like Lawrence? I don't want to mention him because he's such a fucking flight logs. Just put it that way, flight logs. But what do you guys feel about Lawrence Krauss's universe from nothing thing?
And after that, we're gonna go to Michael Scotto. And after that, we're gonna go to Michael Scotto, who is joining us here. Thank you, Michael, for coming in. So, Lawrence Krauss, what do you guys think?
What about him?
No, just like his general theory of like the universe from nothing. I think I read a bit of it a long time ago, but that was his big. This is when the new atheist thing was really.
It sounded like
yeah,
a
yeah,
mathematical explanation and not something you could actually test.
Yeah, I think it's a failure of science communication. Like, I don't think physicists should call it nothing. I think they should call it like, maybe a singularity or something like that. But when they call it nothing, when people who are non-physicists hear nothing, they think nothing. When physicists say nothing,
Annihilative
they more
nothing.
mean like,
Annihilative nothing.
yeah. I mean, they think more of like, quantum foam nothing, like, the things that we can't see and
I mean,
the
avoid.
Or an
interaction.
imaginary
Nothing
number,
else, as Heidegger
a
said.
mathematical nothing, an imaginary number. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, something
A
like
womb. It's literally a womb.
that. Yeah.
It's
But
there.
I guess-
it's there, but it doesn't like it's a place where things happen, not like a thing itself.
Yeah, well,
almost.
like Hawking's point, I guess, was that, or the people that were controlling his voice box was the saying that
Jesus. Do all research.
he's been dead since the 80s, guys. So, saying that the principles were always there and immutable, and that you wouldn't need a spark or something. But then the question is, like, where do the principles come? And we're always going down these turtle shells, and it just, to me, I don't know. It seems that there's a limit to the materialist reductionist view of when you're talking in such broad strokes about
That
the
science
history of
breaks
the
down at that
universe.
when you go that far back.
I mean, it's compelling, but I guess I just really hate Lawrence Krauss. I'm sorry, guys. I have to admit. And he was on the flight log, so it doesn't really matter.
I'll allow that. Yeah,
No,
he
but
just
I
creeps me out. He
understand.
creeps me
Like,
out.
I mean, I guess I think we're at the point now where we're seeing such different levels of mythology in society, both secular and secular, political,
Well,
and
look at
actual
the,
mythology, that the whole new atheist thing sort of fell by the wayside for obvious reasons.
And also look at the statue of Shiva that they had at the particle accelerator. So that was always something interesting.
Everybody always makes a big deal out of it, and if you, I never got it, because if you understand what Shiva is, it makes sense. Shiva's the destroyer. He takes things apart, so it makes sense.
Well, not just the destroyer, but the bringer of new
Just
life.
from a literal sense, not a symbolic.
He literally takes things apart, like to a metaphysical level. Like he's taking apart your he's taking the jealousy out of you, the pain out of you, the rage out of you, things that are impossible to quantify. They're not material, right? So it makes sense that maybe a particle fucking accelerator might have Shiva as the the symbol, he also has the circle behind him of flame, right?
I remember
But-
Alex Jones at the time saying, that's like when they threw missiles in the Kuiper Belt and they thought that the helium was going to just rip off the ozone layer. They still did it. There's physicists that thought the particle accelerator was going to
He's
black hole.
right.
They still did it.
He's right, though. That's
No,
it's
but it's
crazy
true.
to me
They still
that the
did it.
nuke guys, some of them actually thought that was going to ignite the atmosphere, and they still did.
The original
Like,
nuclear test.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And
That's an
some
It was
amazing
considered like a
particle
5% chance.
Yeah, they were
Well,
like,
Mr.
it might kill everyone.
Oppenheimer, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita after
Yes.
the nuclear
And
strike. So.
interesting, isn't that was Shiva too, right? So that was the
Yeah, to quote Goldblum from Jurassic Park, like you were so busy thinking about how you could do it, not if you.
We were
You know what's funny
we were
about
so
that?
focused on whether we could, we never thought of
Yeah.
whether we should.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny about
it's
that?
pretty.
There was the one scene where like they're trying to access Dennis Nedry's computer, Newman, and nobody got it, but right next to it was a picture of Oppenheimer so it was like
that's amazing. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, there's definitely a lot of mysteries here, and I would love to keep this conversation going. But right now we have Michael Scotto here. And by the way, Eric, I would love for you to stick around. I would love everybody to stick around to continue this conversation as well. But right now, Michael, this is the Great Conjunction. I would love for you to tell everybody what exactly is crack-a-lackin' to the best of your knowledge. So how we're going to do this is, Michael, you're going to make a presentation, and then anybody here, you guys just ask him a question, comment. Michael has an hour to be here with us. I'm so happy that you got to be here today. And guys, please subscribe right now. We are not messing around anymore. We got to grow this thing. We got to get bigger, stronger, faster, fatter. We got to be fatter than Fat Lala, and all that fat is all the love
God.
that you guys are
Nala
spreading.
seed.
That you guys are spreading.
I
to
can't
us.
afford to be any fatter, so I'm sorry to say, guys, but
I need all the fat I can get, so please send it over here.
We're gonna make Geo on. We're gonna get him on my 600-pound life or whatever it's called.
My 600-pound.
oh my god,
That's another circle of hell. That's
We're gonna
another
size
one.
you
like
up,
90 Day
Geo.
Fiance. It's another
Yeah.
circle of hell.
Yeah.
You're skinny now compared to what we're gonna turn you into, big boy.
Oh no, but it's going to be my 600. No. There will be a show in the future on TLC. It'll be my 600-pound life, but instead of trying to get them to lose weight, it'll be theaters that are trying to encourage them to be. Never mind.
Gainers
Unironically, though, you're right.
That.
You are
Gainers
right.
and encouragers.
Yeah.
Yes. Grammar.
Encourage-
Yeah.
My,
No, look
my
it up.
crazy gainer life will be the
There's-
subject, yeah.
My crazy gamer word life.
Yeah, and it'll just be like each season they will need new people because they're just gonna cycle out due to heart failure.
Oh my god!
I knew exactly where that was going.
There's
to.
a whole there's a whole YouTube like community of people like this that just are insanely fat. It's like, what's happening?
Chantel and
Oh yeah, no,
the-
she's a classic. Yeah.
I would
From,
say we have to
Toad
purge
McKinley.
these people from existence, but they're already working on it.
Have you guys heard of Grommer? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Grommer or Gromer, but it is a gay dating site for gainers and encouragers. So you have this guy over here, and he's the only
They have
non-fat
that?
one.
That
Yeah.
literally looks like a scene from Through the Valley of the Nest of Spiders, which is a gay erotica book.
It looks
I like
a-
these two in the
it
background.
looks like Hieronymus Bosch.
Oh, it looks like Faust.
All right, let's
It looks like
Okay, let's don't worry about this.
All right, it's
please.
astrology
Let's roll back
Please
to it.
move on.
Michael.
It's
Move
like
on to
a
Michael Scotto.
presentation.
Every time
Sorry.
Scotto's on, we tend to ruin his
we
stream.
just
for
get
some-
degenerate.
Okay, Michael, are you ready? Because you have the share screen ability. So if you're ready to go,
Michael Scotto, bread two.
there we
Look at
go.
the comments.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Shit.
think I'm ready. Hello. So let's see. What are we talking about today? We're talking about
Great conjunction.
the Great Conjunction, right? So this is, well, there's a couple of things. The first thing is going to be the fact that the Great Conjunction is in Aquarius, is an air sign. So essentially, what happens is you have Jupiter going a certain speed, which goes faster than Saturn, and so Jupiter takes 12 years, Saturn takes like 30 years or something. And if you do like the cycles, they only meet up together in certain signs every once in a while. And I think it's something on the order of like 250 years or something since the last time that something like this happened. I was just trying to find the exact date. I couldn't find it, but it was definitely a long time ago. So this is like I think they said it's like the closest the planets have been since like 1623 or something like that. But what kind of like this is on the back of a lot of other things that have already occurred, that a lot of craziness. So the first thing is we had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in January 2020. So you know what came after that. And I want to dig into that a little bit, but and then by the way, we just had 2 eclipses, one lunar eclipse and one solar eclipse. So we had the solar eclipse on the day of the what is that? The official election, the electoral vote. So December 14th. So you have those, and then now so past year it's been a very Capricorn year. Capricorn is like blockage, restriction, things like stagnating, structures, government, this type of stuff. And now everything, so this conjunction, as part of all the planets are all going to Aquarius. So essentially, this is a period in time where you're just going to get smacked in the face with a strong Aquarius energy, and it's starting off with this conjunction, which is like in a few days, and this is the first one in several hundred years. So it's probably going to be, you're probably going to feel it. So what does that mean? Well, it seems like that so essentially what happens is you have Saturn and you have Pluto, Saturn and Jupiter, and when they come together, so Jupiter is expansion and Saturn is restriction, right? And essentially when they come together, it's like one of them is going to win out. When like they come to like the energies kind of merge, and then it's like, well, which one is stronger? And the short answer is Saturn is stronger, because Saturn does what Saturn's natal home is Aquarius, and Jupiter likes Aquarius, but not that much. Saturn is like restriction. Jupiter is expansion. So one of these is gonna win out, and it's probably gonna be Saturn, which means, for example, well, it's a time of reality checks, if you can think of it that way. So there's gonna be I think there'll be like a reality check, say, in the market, in the response to like what happened with COVID, what happened with the elections, right? So Aquarius rules revolution, but it also rules humanitarian efforts and technology, and so it's going to be essentially a time where I think it's like the first thing that's going to happen. Like it's the first like the first say point before everything starts happening. And by the way, the inauguration on looks like a pretty crazy setup. So I think this also has to do with that. And if you also think about a lot of people are in a lot of trouble right now. They don't have any money. They're essentially, there's that K-shaped recovery. So I think that's gonna play into this. But also, I think what it is this is the beginning of several air conjunctions to follow, which means it essentially we're ending like a new era on like a 300-year level scale type of deal. And air, by the way, rules technology. So I think this is, and it's interesting that it's in Aquarius, because I think this is like the beginning of when technology starts taking over more than it's taken over before. So that's just like the kind of the overview. Lev, you there?
I am here.
Okay, cool. So I do have some things I want to show you guys, but I just want to know if you have any questions thus far before
Symbolically, I think it's interesting that you believe that Saturn will beat Jupiter, because obviously, Jupiter's Zeus, right? And Saturn is what, Kronos, right? So it's like it's like we're going to live in an age where Zeus loses.
Yeah, like
and the Titans reign.
Yeah, so in mythology, Saturn was like the castration of Uranus, right? So Uranus is like all these kind of like these like visions of like idealism, if you will. And then Saturn is like reality. So the castration is when you have like a pure idea and you bring it to reality, the balls get chopped off.
Yeah, and it goes, no, this doesn't work. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of this like idealism that we're talking about. For example, I think a good one might be like UBI, right? So there's a lot of idealism around UBI or things like it. Especially as it relates to tech, right? Because tech is basically the reason we need UBI. But what's going to happen when it hits reality? And the other thing is like, I think if you follow like a lot of like the gold bugs, I'm pretty big on the gold people. There's a lot of things in the market that we're in trouble. Like there's a lot of people are not doing well, and a lot of people have been removed from employment with not really a lot. I don't think their job is going to come back. So like, what are we going to do about that? And I think that like this is where things. I think the thing in astrology is whenever you look at like major transits and stuff, it's usually like the genesis of when things started to happen, not necessarily like the exact day that it happened, right? So with this, I think with this air conjunction coming into play, like I said, it's going to be like there for like the next 200 years. So it's like a new theme, if you will. Before, like you could probably take the Earth conjunctions back to like the industrial age. So now I think like the future is about things that are air, such as technology and communication. It also has to do with intellect. So I think it's and specifically in Aquarius, it has to do with humanitarianism, groups of people. So I think we're kind of entering an age where we have to solve that humanitarian problem, whether it's in the United States or like in Western countries. Like, well, what do you do about UBI? What does it mean to be one planet?
But it's not going to be ideal, though. Like you said, it's not going to be this ideal.
Well, no, I wanted to bring this up. I'm a bit skeptical because there's this YouTube. Well, he's not just a YouTuber; he's the actual like legit historian. I think his name is Dark Age Theorist, and he traces macro structures throughout history and the fluctuation of civilizations, and people like similar to Tom B. and Gibbons and so forth. And he says that we're entering a period of what he calls the brown age, where it's not exactly a dark age or sort of a golden year, but rather it's this in-between period where there's this intense stagnation. There's order, but there's not a lot of creativity like there is in declining periods. There's not a lot of people who are groundbreakers, who are trailblazers, but there will be sort of a reterritorialization of order, and there will be sort of like this stagnation period we're entering into before some sort of a calamity. So I don't know. I think that I could see that even to the point where technology will sort of stagnate unless something big comes down the pipeline, unless there's sort of even just the way people view technology would have to change in order for there to be a great like movement forward into whatever that future might be. I don't know.
You said it's Aquarius, right? Which is revolution. Like, do you think it's possible that the idea changing towards technology, like, do you think maybe it's possible that it's the opposite? Like, people will become sort of like looking at tech and realizing like maybe we don't want this the way that, like, what I mean, like almost like a it's still acting in a revolutionary fashion and it's still towards technology, but in the opposite function, like almost like Butlerian jihad, but obviously not to the same scale, but like like almost like a rejection of the technological, because we're seeing a lot of, we were talking about this earlier, we're seeing a lot of the idea of the new rise of mysticism again and all that stuff on the internet, or maybe technology will be the medium by which this happens. I don't know. I'm just sort of spitballing here, but I think, I don't know. I see much more on the horizon. I see much more of a like a rejection of the sort of technological hegemony.
So that's a valid interpretation because Saturn's rejection, right? And like I said, Saturn's going to win. So the thing is, like, Jupiter wants to expand just technology everywhere, right? Like out of control. But Saturn is like, well, here are the limits, right? So all this like technological idealism that we have is going to hit limits. And one of the things, so I don't know if anyone read the book. What's that one? It's basically about
Age
like
of Aquarius. Or...
No, fuck. Damn it, I forgot the name. But it's basically he's talking about like it was written in 2000.
Oswald Spengler.
No, it's written in 2000, and he was talking about techno feudalism.
The
sovereign individual.
Alvin Toffler.
Yeah, sorry. So I don't know anyone the sovereign individual, but essentially, it was pretty crazy. They wrote it in '98, and they predicted Bitcoin. They predicted kind of like the social movements that you see, the victimization, technology, a lot of stuff. And essentially, what they said is that that governments will go the way of the church. So the church used to like write all the rules and everything, and basically like, you had to pay a tax if you wanted to have sex with your spouse, like because it was a sin, so you had to pay for your sins, kind of, and it kind of
indulgences.
yeah. So it
That's
just turned into this like
amazing.
crazy labyrinth, and then eventually people realized like this is ridiculous.
Well, that's on the right with us. So that's the biggest idea we talk about. Remus, like the idea of the blue empire, the state becoming like a civic religion, a secularized sort of religious
Yes.
structure.
Yeah, we need to.
And you have to
destroy
pay
that.
tithes by certain indulgences and
Mhm,
via
mhm. Yeah, we're
diversity
already starting to see
training or
that. We're starting to
something.
see that. There's sort of there's a reason that they call it the cathedral. It's
Yeah.
It
No,
has
So you're
but even-
born to an original sin of your gender or skin color.
that as well. Yeah.
But even the idea that you were talking about, Remus and Michael, about technology itself, I think surely not the first to say this, obviously, but the idea of the wirehead is such a dangerous idea, because then what if technology gets to the point where most people can enter into this like matrix pleasure dome and like their bodily needs are taken care of? Then technology itself like all life itself would pretty much just stagnate at that point, because we've reached enough to where we can just bomb people's brains with dopamine 24/7.
Yeah.
To
Why
where
would
we
you
can.
live when you
Why would we
can
want to have
be the
a
best?
technology to go to the
Yeah.
stars, right?
Oh, let me give some context, because this is part of a presentation that I gave on a larger thing. But so essentially, I was like looking at history. So the last time that Saturn was in Aquarius. So when I say Saturn, Jupiter, Aquarius, is basically imagine that this last Saturn Aquarius, but more, is essentially what it's saying, right? So the last time that happened, so like I said, social movements, gathering, people, community, invention, futurism, science. Anyway, so the last time this happened was like 91, right? So I wrote down a couple stuff. So what do we get at 91? We got Bill Clinton. So we got a Democratic president. So Aquarius tends to be left, not right. We got basically the internet was invented, right? So that's when it was released. And then we also got the Rodney King riots. Like, so that's exactly like the George Floyd. It's the exact same shit.
Gulf War I, the
Yep.
oil, over Kuwait.
We got the first text message. So that if you imagine
Oh my
like
God,
how
Merry Christmas. That was the first one.
yeah. So like imagine like like how important phones are, right? And the internet, like that's like basically everything. And this all happened the last time Saturn was in Aquarius. Bernie Sanders started his career in the Congress. He came in 91. So Bernie Sanders. That's a good example of like Aquarius, like being humanitarian. And then by the way, this is pretty fucking cool. In 91, they amended the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which by the way was the last time that Saturn was in Aquarius. So you have civil rights in 1964, and then the next time it's in 30 years later, they go back and amend it when Saturn's in the same sign. So that was pretty synchronous.
Maybe now they could amend it like Trump will sign an executive order to get rid of it before he leaves office.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll get into that in a second. Hold on. So Linux was released in 91. That's obviously like runs like every server out there, right?
I was born 7 days before that. Damn.
Yeah. I think it was like 1842 was the last time we got one. Anyway. So this is another thing that this is just a sidebar, but I was talking about. So they're talking about the exponential growth of computing, and you can see like what that looks like. It looks insane because it's like everything grows logarithmically, not linear. Like, and then I don't know if anyone saw this talk by Terence McKenna, or it was like he was talking about essentially like at the beginning, like Big Bang, like things like really slow in terms of development. Then like when we talk about like dinosaurs and whatnot, there's not really much change over millions of years. But ever since humans came on the scene, epigenetics and culture and and whatnot. It's just it's straight
Time
up.
wave zero.
Yeah. So that's kind of the age that we're entering in. But I wanted to so I just want to give that as a backdrop to like what Aquarius is, right? So so Aquarius quite literally is like science. It's being subjective, like almost like a cold objectivity. And that's why we got the internet, the text message. We got, Bill Clinton, Bernie Sanders, like this is the kind of stuff we got last time Saturn was in Aquarius. And, the previous Saturn in Aquarius, we got all this, like the civil rights type of stuff. So I think it'll be definitely a movement of like a civil rights in terms of like things that relate to like being able to live like a regular person being able to live in this time. And it might be good. Like maybe we make progress in terms of like, we figure out a way, like, what are we going to do with all these truckers when AI comes out? Are they just screwed and they're just going to go around, like, what was that guy? Like he wasn't a truck driver, but he basically shot a gun in the air in New York City recently, right?
Oh, the New Jersey guy with the
the
cloud burster. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the best way to get civil unrest is to take away people's livelihoods, right?
Uh-huh.
So, that's a problem that needs to be figured out. And I think everyone is full of shit when they say that, they're just going to learn new skills. Truck drivers are not going to learn how to code. Like, get out of here.
No,
it's
they're
not going to
not.
happen.
Wait, by the way, I think Hotep Sophia, I saw you were smiling before. I don't know, Michael, if this time could be open for questions, unless you want to take questions later. What do you think?
Well, yeah, let me just say a couple more things. So, so really, because the point was raised about, because I mean, it's such a good point about could this descend into chaos? And the funny thing is, so I mean, I tend to say things a little optimistically, but you know what? Aquarius also rules chaos, right? It's uncertainty, it's sudden changes. Like, let's talk about, so the ruling planet of Aquarius, Uranus, was discovered right before the French Revolution. I mean, was the French Revolution good or bad? I mean, I'm sure it wasn't good in a lot of ways.
Definitely bad.
bloody.
It was definitely, so it was a lot of fucking chaos, right? So I don't think that like suddenly we're going to wake up tomorrow and like everyone's going to be super progressive and like, the way of life for everyone. That's a very cheery way to present it. And notice that I said that this starts with a Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, and Saturn is going to win, and Saturn is hardship, right? So yeah, it seems likely. I think there will be, like, one interpretation is that things could get really bad, right? But I also want to highlight that, by the way, astrology is not, and I have a lot of fucking experience seeing a lot of transits and people in my own life and clients and etc. It's really hard to color whether something's going to be purely bad or purely good. But what we can like definitively say is like, here's the interpretation, like where this thing could go. And I do think there is some control, like we have some control, like the level of consciousness in society. It's not that we just sit there and just let it happen. But it could, so let's say the lower consciousness way to respond is it could turn into chaos. It could turn into a French Revolution, roving gangs, anarchy type of situation, right? But maybe like a higher expression would be, well, now we figured out how to live with technology. We found out a way to create a way of life for everyone. We've figured out how to work with artificial intelligence, how to merge that with society, things more civil rights, more humanitarianism. And honestly, what you're going to find is you're going to find both is what I think you're going to see. And the fact that this conjunction is happening and it's like kind of rare and everything, I would focus less on the specifics of it and just more the fact that it's such a rare placement is like proportional to how strong it'll be, right? So if you have a less meaningful conjunction, then like you don't notice it. But this, I think this is there's a lot of these trends that are suggestive that we're in for like a new era, and I think it's an exciting time to be alive. It could be exciting because you got shot by a roving gang, or it could be exciting because
I was gonna say Mad Max is pretty exciting.
Yeah, Mad Max is. I think if Mad Max was going to happen, like this this could be the time in history when it does happen. I mean, I personally don't think it's going to happen, but it's certainly now a possibility with the way that the planets are aligning. Yes.
Have you guys I know Margaret Atwood is kind of cringe because she wrote The Handmaid's Tale. But she wrote a book called Oryx and Crake.
Oh, that one. Yeah,
which was very interesting.
My two best friends love that one.
I loved it because I thought it was a very interestingly done dystopia, and it was so accurate to like how I see the world going in the whole like corporate, you know, like corporate hegemony. Like they have these like compounds where they live, all of that shit, right? The use of genetics as terrorism, which is such an interesting thing. Like they make this bacteria that eats concrete and then just like unleash it. Yeah, like that's fucking genius, but also insanely deadly. But the reason I'm mentioning this is because that book kind of has this sort of curve that you're talking about, which is like it doesn't completely collapse until later, but there's a technological sort of world that changes everything. Like all of a sudden genetics becomes the thing. Like, you know how we have AI in the book? It's genetics. It's like they're making everything is fucking genetically modified. You know, fast food is like it's like a thing that grows, and it grows like chicken wings out of it. Like it's this weird crazy like synthetic things are being created that fill the role that people are needing, but there's like a massive, disparity between the rich and the poor, all of that. I think it's just, if you haven't read that, it's interesting.
That's the way it's going pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's very prophetic. Even the way the internet works in it, all of that, right? And they have a collapse. They have like a full on.
Is it like controlled? The world is like controlled by one guy or the guy's friend or whatever.
No, what happens is that the world is ended by one guy and his friend.
Oh, that's
because
right, yeah.
His friend belongs to they're essentially like a genetic terrorist group, right? And what they make is a virus that's like the perfect virus. You basically can't defeat it. It just kills all of humanity in like not even a year. It's
my God.
Yeah, it's super brutal. But what happens is that the guy who does this, who creates this virus, he also ends up creating a new race of basically like humans, but they're like post-humans. They're like designer human beings that he makes, and he makes his friend, who is the only human essentially who survives it, be what is essentially their version of like God in Eden, who is telling them what to do, what not to do. He knows the rules. They look up to him. The whole thing. It's very interesting, but it's this idea of technology causing a massive sort of shift in the way that society works, and it breaking down at the same time as it's accelerating. Like it's a dual thing. It's one thing for one subset of people, and another that era is a one thing for one subset of people and another for another set.
Technology to reach the stars.
That is kind of like what Michael was talking about. But Michael,
Exactly.
You have the presentation back.
Yeah. So I wanted to point out something. So I might have mentioned before that the United States is going through a Pluto return. So the Pluto's returning to its natal position since 1776. And this is going to be, in my research, I tried to find countries that had a Pluto return, and I couldn't find any because none of them lasted that long. So the only one I could find
crossed.
was the United Kingdom, and when their Pluto returned, they were engrossed in World War II.
But there are a lot of countries older than the U.S.
Well, I don't know. Like, I literally went on. If anyone could find it, like that'd be great. But like, I went on Wikipedia and I went like list of countries or whatever, right? And
it's gonna be so hard to find out when they were established.
Yeah. So
there are older countries, but as far as actual like empires or republics or any of these governmental systems, what is the average age of a lot of those? Is it like the same as?
Yeah. So for example, China is obviously thousands of years old, but their current government was formed in like 1960 or something.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. The administration, the regime.
Yeah, so the way that you read a natal chart of a country is you look at what the government was formed, and this is formed with the Declaration of Independence. But anyway, So there's not a lot of countries that last 250 years, or at least one government that does. And the thing about the United States, by the way, so the second house rules like money and finances and materialism, things like that. We have Pluto in there, and Pluto is basically an obsession. So if you imagine like in a previous life you died because you didn't have enough food or something, or like you ran out of money or poverty, you would be reincarnated in this life with Pluto in the second house. So you'd be very obsessed about money. And if you, obviously, United States, capitalism rules, right? There's a country of money. And the funny thing is now, so Pluto is very important for our country. But now the Pluto return has to do in the second house. So that suggests to me that the changes afoot are related to finances. I don't know if we have any Peter Schiff people on here, but the collapse of the dollar and this kind of stuff. I don't want to say he's right. I mean, I'm trying to understand it myself.
Well, he's been saying that for 10, 15 years now.
Yeah. So actually,
it's kind of the way I understood at the beginning of the year with Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter was that we're going to be rushed into like an age of crypto, and whoever isn't ready to get on board with that is going to get left behind. And I'm one of those people. I don't know what any of that means. I don't fucking know what's going on.
Yeah. So right now I'm trying. First I read this. So this guy, can we see this book? Sorry, it's like bleh. I guess you can't see it. Anyway.
Wait. Hold it at a slight angle to like to the left. Give it like a 45-degree angle. No. I mean the other way.
Screen.
Down.
No, back. I mean, shift from the.
There we go.
The
there you go.
Okay, wait a little. The seven deadly innocent frauds of economic policy. There it is.
Yeah. So this is a book by Warren Mosler, and essentially there's this thing called MMT. I don't know if anybody knows what that is.
Mega milk.
Modern monetary theory.
Modern monetary theory.
Mega
what is it?
milk.
Correct. What does it mean? Well, it means that apparently you can just print infinite money.
Yeah, that's monetarism.
Sick.
Yeah.
So for example, what he says in this book is he says, hey, guess what? There's no such thing as money. The United States government just has a big Excel sheet, and when they want to add more money,
Pretty much.
they just increase the number. So why is everyone freaking out about printing money? Because it doesn't exist to begin with. So he's making that argument, right? And then conversely, I'm also reading this book, the Austrian School of Economics, and they're saying the opposite thing. So you cannot print money. It has to be valued by something tangible, and you're going to end up in a bad place if you do this MMT stuff. And here's the funny thing I noticed is that experts do not agree, right? There's not a consistent basis for like, oh, well, this financial expert said this, and this financial expert, and they agree. No, they disagree. So, and we have like 27 trillion, whatever, debt, and it's not just the U.S., it's countries around the world. So the question becomes, can you have that much debt? And by the way, Bitcoin, which is an invention, aka Aquarius, is like taken off. And it's not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just leading the way for other cryptocurrencies. So there's a lot of like, what is money right now? And by the way, note that 70 to 80% of transactions around the world are done in the dollar, right? So where the United States has a big transit, it's going to affect everyone else.
But that's the real black pill. I feel that Austrian libertarian people, they don't realize is that if the system finds a way to keep printing money forever, and then modern monetary theory is not only correct, but it's correct for the wrong reason. It's not correct by the way people like fucking what's the guy's name? Paul Krugman thinks it's correct. It's correct in the sense of they're going to like basically let society slip into like this third world Brazilified hellhole. But then the select few globalists will get to like live in palaces in the sky. So I don't know if that's, in a way you could say that the vital illusion of money itself is sort of being rendered infinite and into a simulacrum by technology, because now everyone knows that money is just an integer spreadsheet that the federal government has, and it's rather the legitimacy of the US as an empire that makes money what it is. And if they switch to a special drawing rights, for instance, then in the get rid of the US dollar, then it's like, would it really make a difference? It probably would, but I don't know. It's really weird. I think that that's the ultimate black pill, is that the system will find a way to keep going on forever in like a semi-failed state. So
Yeah, so the Warren Mosler, the MMT guy, makes a very interesting point about how money works. So essentially, if you had a family and there's like 2 kids and there's coupons, right? So and a parent gives the coupon to the kid and says, well, if you do a chore, you get a coupon, you pay me the coupon, then like you don't have to do chores anymore. And now the kids themselves can do more chores and trade amongst each other. And now this worthless coupons now have value, right? So the way that the U.S. government does it, essentially, is they force you to pay taxes, right? So they say, here's some dollars, it's worthless, but now you have to give us dollars or we're going to fucking put you in jail. And now everyone needs dollars, right? So now
you're a wage
now-
slave, pretty much. Yeah.
If you don't
Yeah,
give
yeah,
me
so-
that
so
dollar,
it-
I'm gonna fucking shoot you.
Yeah, basically, right? And
They'll
that's what
bring
the
back
sovereign-
debtors prison, pretty much. Yeah.
And that's, by the way, that's what the sovereign individual is really getting into. Is they're essentially saying that governments, operate with these fields of violence, which is they kind of force you to do stuff.
Yeah,
But in the future, you can just live on the internet essentially because you could work on the internet. There'll be like a cryptocurrency on the internet, and he said this pre-Bitcoin. And actually, he said that countries will start to compete with each other because they'll just say, like, for instance, like the Bahamas. There's actually places. I saw this. I think the Peter Schmidt from Google. He actually bought residence in Cyprus, and he could live there. And then once he's there, especially so he lives in a place that you can't be. What's that when you get pulled out of the country for prison?
Diplomatic
Extradited.
immunity.
Actually, so if
Extradited,
you live in a
yeah.
place you
Extradition
can't get
treaty.
extradited, right? Then now the U.S. government can't get to you. You could pay less taxes. You can keep more for yourself, and especially if you're just entity on the internet, you can continue to make tons of money. And now, instead of countries being like governments, now it becomes almost like a capitalism of governments where they can compete to attract people who actually want to live there.
Oh my God! So maybe Molebug was right about some. No, I'm kidding. That's
So-
like basic like neo-cameralist type shit, right? So
This is all like very not astrology stuff, but if you actually trace each one of these components here, you could put it back to one of the things that I talked about, like Aquarius, like freedom.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say anything is non-astrology. It's like astrology is just noticing the patterns that are happening in societies, the world, and all of that. You're just
Agreed.
going, hey, it's right there. Look, it's right there. I'm showing
but at
you
the
it's
same
right
time-
there.
But then at the same time, there is like black swan events that do happen. That,
Oh, of course,
yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
predict everything, right?
Yeah, so in that presentation, let me jump back on that. So actually, when I did that presentation, I got like really obsessive about it, and I don't know if I mentioned I might have done this on the show before, but essentially,
Oh, look at that!
yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so it started like 1914. Yeah,
God, I hate what the aesthetic that us millennials have produced with like all those like now this and the cut videos and shit.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a second because that's actually mathematical proof of astrology. It's super cool. But let me get back. So 1914, you got Saturn, Pluto in Cancer. You get World War I. Then at the opposition, which is when they're just opposite each other. You get the Great Depression, sorry,
Influenza.
Yeah, then you get World War II.
This is Saturn and Pluto's relationship, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, Saturn and Pluto cycle, they start together, then they go opposite, then they go closing square. So it's just 90-degree angles.
Okay.
So the closing 90-degree angle, you got World War II. The opposition, you got the Great Depression. And then there was the period of Leo. You got the Cold War in 1947 right here. Then you got rock and roll and stuff because Leo's rock and roll. In the opening square, you got Elvis, and you also got the Vietnam War. And by the way, Leo's like, who's the ruler? Who's the king? And it was like, who's the king? Like the U.S. or the Russia, right? So there was that. And then you also got the Beatles and and then the U.S. entered Vietnam at the opposition, and all this goes on very predictably. At the Libra conjunction, you had the Lebanon War, and you had the AIDS epidemic right there. So the Libra's relationships. You got the first World Trade Center bombing at the opening square. You got 2001 Twin Towers, 10/11 at the opposition, and then when they found out when Bin Laden was hiding at the closing square, it's very predictable.
Supposedly, that's where they found it.
Yeah. But well, they killed him shortly after. So we'll say, when did they kill him? But anyway, and then guess what? This is, we got the Great Recession. Anyway.
But notice how the generation gaps. It's almost like they follow secession. Like, and there's a sequence to it. Like, for example, there were soldiers in Vietnam whose grandfathers fought in World War One and their fathers fought in World War Two, and they're fighting in Vietnam, and their sons maybe will fight in Iraq. Like, so it's almost, I don't know, maybe it's because America loves war.
But what are
maybe
their
that's
sons
it, but-
doing? What are their sons doing? Like, how many people?
Well, then
I mean,
their
this
sons
kind
went
of-
to Gulf War
Brookhaven,
One,
son.
right? So,
But hold on, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose this point, which is to say, I mean, this was a presentation to like a whole half hour, but I want, if you look at that Saturn Pluto, it's like this. It's predictable.
Yeah, it's like every half hour on the clock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like if you're looking at the fucking global clock and something happens in a half hour, it's not a surprise. And Saturn Pluto 2020, you get coronavirus. It's right on time. So
what will be the next big shift? Like, what will be the year that will happen?
So there's obviously if I'm talking strictly about the Saturn Pluto cycle, then the next like event is going to be like 7 to 8 years from now. So what is that, like 2027, 2028? But that's what this cycle. But the other thing is embedded in this, we also have all this Aquarius stuff that I've been talking about. So there's two things going on. But I think, by the way, Capricorn is government. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was a cycle that government was kind of restructured in some way, like global government. So that whole sovereign individual, which by the way, they said like 2025 when this is really going to go down. I think they might be like on track. Like, I don't think it's like out there. And by the way, if anyone has not read The Sovereign Individual, check it out. It's really like eye-opening, and I think everyone on this channel will be into it.
What year will I get a GF? What year will I I don't know.
Good question, Gio. I have the
That'll
same
be a
question.
seismic shift.
That is the burning question of all BTR.
Oh man, so it's
warheads.
I'm hoping that I find a GF through women posting L's. I think that would be.
That sounds like
well,
a really.
you could date one of the L posters. That could be.
People always make
one of
that
them.
joke.
You can save
I
them.
think that would be so funny.
You can save them, James.
You could date the woman that said that she was so. Never mind. The woman that said she was so horny that she never mind.
Oh God, please don't say it. No, please.
Don't say it.
It is question time. I think Hotep Sophia, you were smiling before. Do you have a question for Michael?
No, I didn't have a question. I
Just
just
happy.
find this explanation to be very interesting, and I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's good to know that it's not just in my mind. It's actually in the stars. So that's helpful.
when you do logically, think about, and I think we lost Eric, unfortunately.
No, Eric is coming back.
Oh, okay.
He wanted to see why he wasn't able to hear things, so he is coming back.
You couldn't hear Michael.
Yeah.
Gio, just call him Georgina. Fuck off. When you think about it logically, you would say that around the inauguration, or rather the beginning of 2021, because here's the thing, from my estimation, every generation, every 10-year sort of era, it always goes towards the end of, or the beginning of that new era. So for example, when people refer to the 60s, like the glorious age, the summer of love, they really mean like the early 70s. Like really the 60s ended around 71. So the early 2000s, when people think about the late 90s, they're really referring to the early 2000s, right?
Or pre 9/11.
Yeah, pre 9/11, exactly. So
when was that Summer of Love again? I just want to look at the
69.
chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Pluto's in Virgo.
Yeah.
Summer of love is any summer that I get laid in. So.
Yeah.
So no, my point being is that every decade or every great change, like for example, 2020, everyone thought that because we're entering a new decade. Really, 2021, I feel we're going to enter into what the sort of the tone that will be set for the next decade, the way that the 2010s were set by the early 2000s, right? So I feel that 2021 will be the year that something either big will happen, maybe a series of, people will start recognizing that we're living in history right now. So I feel that whatever is going to happen, like for example, even the fact that, it looks like, not to be a black pillar, like some people say, but even the fact that Trump, pretty much isn't going to, fingers crossed, but he's
Just say it.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to
Just say
alienate
it.
people that still have hope, but
You don't want to alienate the algorithm either. So,
no, but basically that Trump will, essentially the fact that there is likely that there's a president that isn't going to have his concurrent second term. I feel that that's even in itself historically unprecedented. So I don't know. I mean, unless maybe it's true that things are going to turn around and court cases are going to come out, but
Look,
I
if
don't
you
know.
want
I
to-
hate to say it, but I don't know what you guys feel. I mean, I'm not American, so don't take
and
my word
also,
for it.
Gio, by the way, wait, real quick. We got 10 minutes left before Michael has to go.
Oh,
so I
shit,
want to make
sorry.
sure we get all the questions for Michael right now. So if anybody has any questions about what Michael was talking about, go for it.
Wait, I just want to respond to one comment that Gio said. So one thing I've been having obviously a lot of trouble trying to understand this whole political nonsense. But the one thing I think that possibly might answer the question is that populism has not been solved. So in astrology, we talk a lot about energy is neither created or destroyed. So if you have a transit and you try
That
to do
energy
one,
is still present. Yeah.
yeah. If you try to do one thing, then something else happens. And so the thing is the reason we got Trump was because of populism and like I mentioned, all the economic issues and stuff. But that problem has not been solved, right? So I wonder how that's going to explode in some way. The fact that they try to ignore it now, I think it's going to come out in a different way. I don't know how.
It's just the beginning, pretty much.
He's just the beginning. Yeah.
But I imagine that they'll try to ignore it, but something else will explode, and then we'll be dealing with something else. That's my guess on that.
But by the way, shout out to Bill Marchant, my good friend, Chili Marchant on Twitter. He's compiling a book for Terror House that will have essays on the quote unquote post-Trump era. I hopefully will be in it with an essay about art in the post-Trump era. So
nice.
Yeah.
Landshark is in it.
I think Landshark will be in it actually.
Yeah, and Landshark is an absolute legend.
When
Shout
is
out.
Landshark coming here? I think it's going to be soon. I got to check on his situation. And you know who else is coming here real quick? Owen fucking Cyclops.
Finally!
Cyclops. He is coming in. He's going to be coming in on January. Yes.
I want to respond to the eyebrow comment. Can I see that?
Dude, you got power eyebrows, son. Don't let them get you down. Those are power eyebrows.
Can we all look at this question I just got?
It's Mediterranean. You can't blame him.
Well, yeah, true story. Back in the day, I was like, man, my eyebrows are too big, and I tried to get them waxed. And I specifically said, do not make me look like a woman. And of course they made me look like a woman. So
I can't help it.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that again.
Do women still get their eyebrows waxed?
Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I don't know anything,
Dude,
man.
They get them.
True incel, according to people in
Ready
do.
and wax.
Dude,
And
yeah,
difficult
threading is
out there.
insane, bro.
Remember they had the tattoos? My aunt used to get those back in the day. The tattoos.
It's called microblading now.
Yeah.
Microblading,
still
yeah,
do
yeah.
that.
So
Okay.
Gio asked, he said, when am I going to get a girlfriend? So I don't know.
I wasn't.
James,
I don't know. But
I
will
was
say-
serious, but
I will say this. There's been some interesting shit that I've been seeing this year in terms of relationships, like right on time. And I don't know if I mentioned. So I had basically 2 marriages this year. One girl basically got married and got pregnant, and another one just moved in with her boyfriend, and she was literally texting me blowing up my shit up. She's a Scorpio, so she knows gonna blow my shit up. And just going on, and I was like, calm the fuck down, right? And so I said, just wait until this day. And he's a Cancer, so he's governed by the moon. And that day I messaged her, I'm like, are you good now? Because she was just literally she's like, I'm gonna pack my bags, I'm leaving. He hasn't talked to me for 2 weeks. And then I text her that day, she's like, yeah, this is she's like, what the fuck? This exact day he started being nice again, and now we're good. I was like,
I had similar situations with the last reading that you did for me too. There was a lot of interesting stuff that we went through in that 2-hour period of time. It was very good.
Maybe I have to sign up for the Justin Murphy arranged marriage website. Maybe that would be.
So yeah.
And by the way, guys, if you want Michael Scotto to do a reading for you, Michael, are you still open to new people coming in? And
yeah. So it's like an hour, like an hour and a half period or whatever.
Well, how is it best to contact you?
I put my email down there. Yeah. So it's always good to have.
Michael, I had sent you an email after the last when you did my reading. I guess you never got it because I wanted to get a reading for my daughter.
Oh, I didn't. Oh shit. All right. Yeah, we'll get you in.
So I'll send you another email.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
And Michael's email over here, scottomj@gmail.com.
Gmail. Yeah. So
I added it right below your thumbnail here on Zoom. So everybody, this is the email right here. I'm also going to put it in the chat as well for everybody to take a look at.
Yeah.
Any final questions anybody here has for Michael?
What's the best sign?
What's the
What's your
I can't ask him
There's
that.
no best or worst in
there
astrology.
is. The
No, there
correct
isn't.
sign is my sign, and the incorrect sign is your sign.
Well, I'm a Capricorn, bro.
That makes sense.
Okay.
I actually could have called that.
So here's what I will say. So when I read clients, right, what's funny is sometimes I see clients who are like fucked. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm just like, oh god, like I'm so happy to be
Born under
right?
a bad sign.
Right? But I mean their whole chart, right? And then
Right.
sometimes I see clients and I'm fucking jealous and I'm just like sitting there and they're reading the whole time, like pissed off that I'm not them. Like I read this one person and like she had like fucking like Jupiter like right on the midheaven and she just keeps changing jobs and getting promotions and like she's like, wow, should I start my own business? I'm like, yes, bitch, you should. And so like that's happened before.
I'll read something from Charles E.O. Carter, who's one of my favorite astrologers. He says,
Oh, he's great, yeah.
in any case, good and bad are very unsatisfactory terms to employ. Some aspects are obstructive, some might be called facilitative, some are conformative, some tend to extreme individualism, some are constructive, some disruptive. But the bare classification into good and bad is highly misleading.
Yes, I agree. I was just fucking around.
Oh, I know. It resonates because I think that's a big like misconception when people want to write off astrology is like, it's more subtle than you think.
Yeah.
Except being a Cancer, that's just bad. My sister was a Cancer. She's the most annoying person that I know.
Michael, I remember in that chart there was something about nationalism being connected to Cancer.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Cancer rules home, family, and like where you're from, your roots. So it also rules like what your country is. And by the way, those nationalism wars, World War I and World War II, that was when Saturn Pluto was in Cancer.
That makes sense. My sister's very much like that. It's very she's ready to pop off, but only about specific things like family.
Yeah,
right?
I will say people give Scorpio as like the scary water sign, but I would say that Cancer is way scarier.
Oh yeah, no, my uncle's a Scorpio. He's just selfish. He's just kind of selfish. Yeah, but not in a bad way. He just is. It's just the way he is. He's a little bit selfish and very much to himself. But he's super loving in his own way. My sister is just the one that's like super like she just pops the fuck off, man. Like it's super volatile. I was like, yeah, you're very much a water sign. My wife's an Aquarius, which is interesting.
But by the way, one more thing I want to say about the political situation is that Donald Trump was born on a lunar eclipse, and December 14th was a solar eclipse on his lunar eclipse. Now that is like some super rare shit. I don't even know what that means, honestly. Like,
yeah, dude, he's clearly a destined man. Like it's crazy the amount of shit in that guy's life. Yeah.
So honestly, I'm watching this because I'm never gonna see a client born on a lunar eclipse that's having a solar eclipse on their lunar eclipse. That's just like ridiculous. So I'm watching this to kind of get a glance of like what does that even mean? So you're like watching astrology in real life.
And is there something for the 21st and related to Trump or no?
I don't know. I didn't look. He's so hard to follow because he just like there's so much things that happen to him. Like there's too many significant events.
It's literally impossible to keep track. Like he's living the life of like 17 great men at the same time.
Yeah. So Aquarius is his
Oh
his
my god.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, this is somewhat relevant because so the Saturn Jupiter is it well, no, it's at 0 degrees. Yeah, so the Saturn Jupiter conjunction is at 0 or 1 degrees, and it's opposite his Pluto in the 12th house. That sounds bad, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it sounds like something. I don't know. It sounds like something very powerful, something very hidden, very secretive.
Oh my God, it's the storm.
Yeah.
It's the storm.
Yeah.
She was right the whole time. It's the storm.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so any like secrets that he's involved in, I imagine would come to light, whether it's like, yeah. So that I think you'll see something with him with the Saturn Pluto conjunction. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Biden's definitely going to die if he comes in office because it's a Jupiter Saturn conjunction on, and basically every president that's ever been elected on Jupiter Saturn is either assassinated or assassination attempt or died. So.
Even McKinley?
Yeah, I think so. Someone did the work, but yeah, basically a lot of them there was some kind of attempt on their life when you have a Saturn Jupiter conjunction, when they're come into office.
Well, that's comforting.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But it's great because if he dies in 2 years, we're going to get more chaos, and Aquarius loves chaos.
Amazing. Terror wave aesthetic IRL.
That's how you get new things. You get chaos is danger and opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's the only way it's how things change.
This is why we're doing the BTR stream,
yeah,
like
through the burning of the forest.
You mean danger in play?
Oh, and I'll say
yeah.
one more thing actually about Trump, which is hilarious. So there's a bunch of Israeli astrologers, and they like predicted that somehow he's gonna get reelected and all this crap.
Israeli?
Yeah, and then I went to my teacher.
Are you sure they're predicting?
And then I went to my teacher, and
my god!
I said, "Hey, teacher, these Israeli astrologers are saying Trump's gonna be in office, right?" And they had like psychics involved and all this shit. And then he said, "Well, they're just fucking. That's just because they like him, and he hates Trump, and he thinks Trump is gonna go bye-bye." So I'm like, "Who's telling the truth?" I have no idea.
Right.
Even astrology can be politicized. Wow, we
yeah,
told you
it's
like,
terrible.
totally.
The fact that you said
Politics.
Israeli astrologers just made me laugh. Like it's just
I
such a hilarious
didn't know that
phrase.
existed.
Yeah, well, no, they're
No, I mean, if you have like
definitely.
the Kabbalah and all that stuff, like of course it's related to astrology as well. All these things are a cohesive system, so it makes sense that they would be looking into it as well.
Cool.
I don't know if they're Kabbalists. Do you know if they're interested in the Kabbalah?
Do
and
they like
Jewish
Trump in Israel?
mysticism and-
They love Trump in Israel.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean that
What
like
a
as a
surprise!
fucking 4chan. I don't mean as a 4chan joke. I mean like the people. I think they like in Brazil they like Trump. So
No, I think they like
yeah,
him.
he's been pretty nice to Israel, obviously. So
Oh yeah.
They like him in that
Yeah.
regard. It's not. I don't think they would like to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Like the Brazilians. Brazilians would definitely hang out with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
They love that guy.
Yeah.
I feel like Biden probably wouldn't have as much pull in that direction. He probably, I mean, either way. I mean,
In Brazil?
No, oh no, not in Brazil, but like no, in the other country. But don't
Oh,
worry
the other
about
one. Yeah, no, right. You just gotta scratch their back, right?
Well, they didn't like Obama that much, did they? Or
Well,
that was
he's,
just yeah.
He's a
He was-
he's a black guy. So
So oh, what is that fucking?
have you, dude? Are you serious?
Well, no, I
They
mean, from what I-
racist in
from-
Israel?
From what I
Yeah.
understood, Obama was
Oh my
making
God.
policies that were not as favorable. I mean, it wasn't anything that extreme, but it wasn't as favorable for
That is well.
certain
He wasn't.
plans that the Israelis were making with settlements and things like that. I don't know, but as
I think
far
he was
as
being a little bit more charitable to the enemies, I guess.
Well, to
Yeah.
who Israel would consider their enemies.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is why, I agree with Giorgiani. America's got to ditch Israel for Iran, believe it or not. I think America and
I
Iran
think
share
I
similar.
think it'd have both. Honestly, I have a problem with him thinking that Russia is gonna side with us. I would love for Russia to side with us, but it's not gonna side with us.
No,
the
no,
reason why it's
East-
not gonna side with us,
Central
I'll tell you
Europe
right
is
now.
going to prevent
Buff,
that.
no, it's not. It's nothing to do with Central Europe. Buff, I know you're not gonna like this, but Russia might as well. I think it pretty much is a vassal state of China by now.
No.
Yes.
No. Putin
They are
has his own
completely-
thing going.
No, he doesn't.
No.
They're completely indebted to the
No.
Chinese.
Lev,
It's the
you
same
are never
mentality.
going. You
It's
are
the
never
same
going to
mentality
see
as the
Lev
Golden
is
Horde.
I love
right.
it.
It's the same
Okay,
mentality
wait.
as with the
Lev is
fucking
right.
Golden
You are
Horde.
never going to see how based that man
The
is.
Russians are getting-
Putin is their only hope, in my opinion. No,
The Russians
not
are
at
getting
all.
flashbacks
All
back
right.
to the Mongols.
I gotta,
That's what
I
they
gotta,
think of the Chinese.
I gotta
Yes.
run, but I will leave you guys with this point. So I think it was within a couple of days that of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction that we assassinated that guy in Iran, or right?
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, notice that if you Google China Cold War starting this year, there's like 1 million articles. What's up with that? So how's that going to play out?
But that's been happening, right?
Well,
feel
I
like
wonder
it
if there would
started
be
to
a
happen
shift
more
with-
so this year. And by the way, note that the virus came from China, and then U.S. blamed China. So I'm pretty sure all this stuff is related. I don't know where it's going to go, but like this is the, every one of these cycles we saw the start of some kind of new war. So I don't know if it's
With
gonna be
China, maybe?
Things
I don't know if it's
have
gonna
to
be a-
come to a head. Things have to
Yeah,
come to a head.
Yeah,
This is,
I don't know if it's gonna
you
be
got-
a physical war, because here's the
Yeah.
thing: is like people are
It'll
like,
be a
well, what the fuck? We
trade
can't
war.
even fight anymore because then everyone's gonna die. But I do think there might be like a kind of virtual war. I think we'll see a lot of hacks. and stuff.
League
Well,
of Legends.
Didn't they come out recently that they said that there's quite a bit of activity that we don't know about, like in terms of cybersecurity from China, but there's that we have
Oh,
to
yeah.
kayfabe it because
Oh
of
yeah,
global
everybody's
trade?
pretty much
Yeah.
attacking everyone all the time.
Yeah.
It's just who gets lucky.
Kayfabe is the best way to think about the global geopolitics. Is they're
I think-
kayfabing? They're constantly hitting each other and pretending like everybody's
Yeah.
chill, everybody's fine.
But Hakase, you might know more about this, but people tend to not realize the private sector, like corporate hacker espionage that goes on as well, that could
Oh, yeah.
potentially have security implications, because of corporations, they're stealing secrets from each other all the time, and the Chinese government's stealing secrets from corporations all the time. So it's like, what's going to happen with that? Are we going to basically reveal the cards about in terms of the state of the internet? Because people are saying the internet itself is like an unstable group mechanism or group of nodes that are like, there's no
Oh, you mean that like fractions of the internet start breaking apart from each other?
Yeah,
So China's
like-
Great Firewall becomes China's internet, and then
I forget who said it, but I remember John Michael Greer was talking about how whole sectors of the internet basically aren't profitable for the people that run it. So if whole sectors of the internet basically go offline because it's not a profitable, quote unquote, a profitable model. And I know the internet's not a centralized thing, but it's becoming a centralized thing. So who knows the role that America and China has to play in terms of who gets a piece of the internet. Maybe the internet will be carved up like Poland was between Russia and Nazi Germany. in the
I think it would
30s.
matter more on bandwidth than anything. Because if something's not profitable, but it's only a matter of kilobytes or megabytes, then it's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't cost them anything to maintain anyway. So if
Alright.
it's like a video service, then yeah, it might not last very long. Just
Well, we know
because of
YouTube isn't
demands.
profitable.
Hey guys, I got to drop.
All right.
I'll leave you with two nuggets of wisdom. First, read The Sovereign Individual if you haven't. And two, don't have sex with someone new on a void moon.
Oh,
Google void moon and just don't have sex with someone new on a void moon.
What a way to exit. Thank
All right, guys.
thank you,
Peace.
Michael.
see,
Boom shakalaka.
I actually have to go to Lev, so
Well, guys, I think that this is going to be the I think this may be the end of the stream for tonight. We had a great conversation. James, I love you, buddy. You are incredible with the Santa hat on. I'm gonna have to put up some headgear for our Christmas
and
special.
next week we're gonna have our Christmas stream.
Hell yeah!
On the
Heavens
23rd
yeah.
is my birthday, so I don't know.
Happy birthday!
Yeah.
Yay.
Fucking 28-year-old
birthday,
boomer.
Killing it.
Gio, do you do the big Feast of Seven Fishes on Christmas Eve?
Yeah. Well, my grandparents and my mother did that, but me and my old man aren't like big.
Yeah,
fish
how old are
eaters,
you
so
turning?
I've never heard
I'm
of
going
that.
to be 28, so
Nice.
I'm going to be like a few years away from 30-year-old boomer. So that's
Yeah, we're getting there,
very
bro.
good.
We're getting there. That's
And
next
oh
year
no,
for
and
me.
yeah, maybe Lev, maybe we could get John Michael Greer in the show. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. I
Well,
would love to have him on.
maybe you could talk to Meta Nomad. He's like a regular almost on the
Speaking
Hermetics.
of definitely on the show, Lev, did you want Lindy on the show because he follows me on L's, so I can message him.
Hells yeah! I'm telling you, Gio, we can get Lindy Man on.
I don't know, man. He doesn't come on. If we could get Paul Scholas on, that would be fucking groundbreaking in my opinion.
By the way, I would be
I'll
remiss.
message for you.
I would be remiss if I didn't share James's post. Look at this.
Yeah, that's
the Golden
the
Nectar
most
Army.
Earth shit I've ever seen.
Oh my God! What the fuck?
What is-
What the fuck?
Yep,
That was
pea
the
gummy
picture they got on
bears.
Elves.
They're gummy bears made of pee.
How can you even sell that? That's like a bodily.
Dude, hashtag piss play, dude. That's how.
Oh my god.
Hashtag-
So
There's a market for
like-
everything.
So you gotta have like water sports isn't enough. You gotta like consume.
There's got to be an eBay of everything, right?
Oh my
what
God.
are you kidding me? Eat the piss gummy bear.
I wonder if that's what Zeus did to that one chick, the golden
Piss
chef.
gummy bears. These
Jesus
people are sick. I'm
Christ.
telling you, they're sick people.
Is it actual piss gummy? Like, what do
Yeah.
they put in the gelatin? Like, oh
Yeah,
my
they
God.
replace the water with piss.
Yeah,
no, but
this
is it like a
this is
porn star that's doing it or what?
Well,
I don't
here's
know.
how it's going to go down. Here's how it's going to go down. There's going to be like an Elysium society where they are going to have these porn stars that get paid a lot of money by the simps that dwell in the underworld. You know, the
Morlock
Morlocks.
Sims.
Yeah.
And then what they do, they have
Huh.
like a drainage system so that they just take the gummy bears and
That's
they
where
just
they get
send
their
them down the
hashtag piss
drain.
food.
No,
Yeah.
but
The
left
gummy
they
bears,
have that
fall
shit-
down. The gummy bears fall down like manna from heaven, and the simps just
Oh, left they
Oh
had
my
that since the
God.
80s. The human
No.
toilets.
Yeah, man.
You go to like a club in San Francisco and they'd like carve out the toilet to let. Never mind.
Yeah.
By
By
the
the way,
Wait,
Brett,
wait.
thank you for
I'm
being here.
now,
Yes.
I'm now imagining a like a wine tasting, but of piss gummy bears.
Oh my God!
They had it.
Yeah, they go off
Piss
They
into a
probably
sommelier.
have that in some JV.
I'm sorry, Hotep
Yeah.
Sophia.
A piss sommelier. That's
They-
gonna be
yeah,
James's
that's
There are
job.
people that believe that drinking piss has health benefits to
Yeah,
you.
man.
Yeah, there are people that
What's
do
his
that.
face?
You
used to
have
be
massive mental degradation when the term e-girl piss gummy bears is going through.
Well,
your
Gamer Girl
mind.
P apparently
E-girl
can
piss gummy
cure
bears
illnesses.
going through
Yeah.
your fucking mind.
Gamer Girl piss. That what a meme to come
Yeah.
out. Like, can you
Return
imagine if
to
any
shamanism.
one of our ancestors saw what we're doing on the internet? Like, my God, like I wonder.
They'd probably be like, "This is amazing. What the fuck? Like, I hate this, but at the same time, this is incredible." Like,
No,
I can
you know what's
see-
funny? There is a relation in mythology to Ur, and there's a Zeus example, but also, you guys know about the Terence McKenna theory about Christmas, right?
What?
that it was
Mm.
that it was pee the reindeer pee. That's
Because
like
they
full
had
of
to-
DMT and
Because when you eat the cap, what's that called? Where it's the red.
Amanita muscaria. It's
Yeah,
the-
mascara, which is the cartoon, like the Hanna-Barbera cartoon
Wait,
mushrooms.
You know the mushroom,
Like missing,
the
like parts of the story here. What are we talking about?
we're talking
No,
about.
So
Terrence
Terrence
McKenna-
Mc-
Reindeer
Go.
eat mushrooms, and that's how they
Yes.
fly.
No, reindeer eat mushrooms. They eat
They eat
Amanita
the Hanna
muscaria
muscaria.
mushrooms, which are kind of like psilocybin, like the
the red
if-
classical big
Yeah,
psychedelic
they don't.
mushroom.
The high doesn't last.
But if
the same amount,
humans
but
eat it, we don't
but
have the
not the same
enzyme
amount.
to break it down.
yeah,
But because
You will die.
Yeah, but
it
or
doesn't
it'll
kill
give you a
it'll
buzz.
Fuck you up. Yeah, it'll fuck you up.
But then if you process it
reindeer
through the
eat
reindeer-
it, yeah, reindeer eat
Process
it,
it through.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
reindeer essentially act as a processing machine. If you drink the reindeer's piss after they eat
It
Amanita
has
muscaria,
psychoactive properties.
you get
Without the
blasted,
toxic effect.
like peyote, like so
Like
so
you know the capybara coffee that goes through the capybara?
asshole, yeah, the shit coffee.
It's like that, but like with psychedelics. It's like
literally, it's that.
the animal becomes a human
So
processor,
obviously,
a food
the,
processor.
the ancient Finnish people were
Had
very much
nothing better to
into the
do.
caribou piss.
Yeah,
'Cause it
because the
kills
word
God.
shaman,
I thought that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
the word shaman was actually created by the Russian Slavic.
It's shame man.
Yeah,
They
what's
used
the
to
group
pee.
called that
To
lived
pee.
there? The ancient peoples.
It's the Tungus or something like
The
that.
Tungus, yeah. They were the ones. I think the ethnologists that went there. They were the ones that coined like the term shaman, right? So
Bert coming in clutch. Appreciate it.
yeah. See, you know that one that was I posted that on Fleet. What James just
Dude,
posted.
I was laughing so hard at that.
Someone I forget
Oh
who
my
it was on
God.
Discord.
What moment was that?
The exact moment was when Lita was talking about her doing fake incest porn. That was the exact moment where she was talking about how she pretends to be the guy's sister. So that's yeah.
Oh boy.
The funny because
Your
like I
reaction.
remember you asking what the moment
Oh,
was.
look, I'm in Sneed now. Holy shit.
And you said that, and I'm like, fuck, I don't even remember that because I got so fucking drunk towards the tail end of the fucking.
All three of your eyebrows.
Like, what?
You
Dude, like,
and
I didn't even
Ewan's like,
fucking remember that shit. Like I was fucking drunk as hell towards the end.
I feel bad. Lena's such a nice girl. She was really good. She was a really smart girl. It's just that, well, you know.
Bro, that's how the devil works, man.
That's how the
They're
devil.
nice.
Right.
They're very nice and shit, and then they're pretending to be your sister while they have sex with you. It's weird.
Oh, fuck. You know that one Pantera song, Good Friend in a Bottle of Pills, where it's like, she called me daddy, I called her baby. Why is that such a persistent... never mind.
You know why?
Yeah.
You know why?
I feel like
Fellas,
the stream...
I think the stream
This
is
is
done.
the
falling
after
apart.
party.
I think
We're
the
done.
stream is
We're
done, guys. All right, listen, everybody, subscribe right now. I know that there are some new people that are watching.
Wait, before we go,
Yes,
explain.
yes.
I don't fully understand this. I know I should because I'm a master of memes. But what
Okay.
does Sneed posting represent to all of you? What is Sneed? Why is it such a persistent statement on the current?
You just want to leave that as like a
And-
philosophical question.
No, it's
Yeah,
simple.
exactly.
Simple.
That's
Can
the
I ju-
rhetorical
can I jump
question
in?
to end the stream with.
No,
I
No,
have-
no,
have
but
an
like,
idea.
what do you guys feel? Like, why is Sneed
Yeah.
such a persistent
Here-
statement
here-
about
here-
Chan culture?
Okay, it's a shitty meme. It's an okay meme, but like the fact that it's like so prevalent still, I think is kind of retarded. Like it's not that.
And that right there, that's why Sneed posting exists.
But why is it like this
Okay,
radical?
I'll explain. Here we
Yeah,
go. Okay.
statement.
So Sneed and Chuck, you have these two different archetypes. Now Chuck,
The fucking
Actually,
show.
hold on. Now
He's
Chuck
literally
used to have.
Yeah,
Hold on.
He's
hold on.
actually
Chuck's-
doing it.
Yeah,
That was one of
Chuck-
my favorite episodes of The Simpsons, by the way, where he's like, "You couldn't grow
Yes.
stink on a monkey." Yeah.
Formerly Chuck's. Yeah.
Okay. So Chuck's was
Suck
what
and
was
fuck.
it? Yeah, suck and fuck, exactly. So it was much more degenerate, and then Sneed is all about the earth, all about coming back to
Sneeds and feeds.
yes, family and farming and cultivation, as opposed.
And that's
to
what Homer wanted to
wasting
do
your-
in the episode because his
Exactly.
old man was a
Exactly.
Abe was a farmer, and that yeah.
So they are like the two pillars. They are like the pillar of severity and the pillar of mercy.
Oh,
and I
yes.
think today,
It's
Chuck
Kabbalistic.
is
He's
Saturn
right.
in Capricorn, and Sneed
He's
is
right.
Saturn into Aquarius.
You're right, Jugs. Thank you. Yeah.
You know the one GIF I always post of Stone Cold where he's like, fucking Jesus, love.
He's right. Sneed.
and I think today people are yearning to get back to a certain kind of order, to get back to a certain kind of trad lifestyle.
A
So
Sneed
that's
way
why
of
they're
life.
being
So
attracted
this is why
so
for
much.
the chance of picking up
Exactly.
Sneed
Yeah,
posts.
but it's also just because TV has the best memes. TV and
Yeah, TV.
TV and Spee. We all know that sports and TV have the best memes.
You know who has the worst memes?
Wait.
Lit has the worst memes.
Yeah,
I
Lit.
think that TV has the best memes because for a while I was a meme on TV. So
Yeah.
Oh, that's
No, it's-
right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
You
like
know, by the way, Lit recently they're going against Delicious Tacos for some reason. I don't know.
Oh.
They're a bunch of suits that can't get their books published. So
That is crazy. That is crazy.
you're telling me that the
Delicious
most
Tacos, I love 'em.
vindictive board is actively upset because another person is publishing books? Like,
I wonder if they got to Logo's poetry book by now.
yeah, it's like
I wonder-
Moo being mad that people are making music. It's like, yep. That's how
Moo
it
being-
works.
It's
All right,
it's
guys,
like
listen, we got-
Ass being mad that some guy got signed to AEW. That's
yeah.
All right, guys, listen. Patreon.com/break the rules. You better go there right now and become a fucking patron. We have had enough. Do it right now. We love
We've
you
had
all.
enough.
Subscribe right
Had
now.
enough.
Ah! Subscribe.
Sneed, power of Sneed.
That Filmcast on Spotify.
Holy shit.
Season 2.
And here's what you get.
MK Ultra Money.
MK
Coming next
Hell yeah.
year.
MK Ultra Money, Bad Filmcast. And here's what you get with our Patreon. Look at the quality of this wood. This is some good-ass wood right here, and you are
Some
going to get
good-ass wood.
beautiful wooden magnets made by my father, Alexander Polyakov, and a custom
Camp
part
Bot's
for
going
myself.
on Lit, going after Paul Town and Delicious
Oh,
Tacos.
God.
It's so obvious.
Right, it's
$30 patrons. $30 patrons are gonna get a Giovanni Panicciati print. Look at this print in action. It is very beautiful. And $50 patrons are going to get both of these things as well as a completely custom wooden magnet.
And we'll have to come up with another $50 tier thing, and maybe it'll probably be a painting. Who knows? Maybe it'll be
Hells yeah, that sounds beautiful. That sounds beautiful. Yes.
I want to do.
I'll give you one of my Bob Ross paintings that I do. I have to bring it back this year.
That's amazing.
Lev, I want to do an episode for season 2 of MK Ultra Money where it's just you, me, Geo, Jugs, and Jules. We have the main BTR people on the pod. We don't even have another co-host. We just do BTR MK Ultra style.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna do it.
I think we should record
Let's
that.
do it.
And do that.
All right, guys, don't forget to subscribe again. Click the bell, add a like, all the usual stuff. I know that there has to be new people who are watching this right now. And of all the new people, do it right now. Do it right now. Do it right now. I love you.
Do it.
Do it right now.
Do it right now.
We're gonna come to your house. Don't you understand? We're thinking ahead. We're
very
thinking ahead.
serious.
We're gonna come to your fucking house and go subscribe.
We're Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. So there is no messing around here anymore, guys. Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to end the stream right now. I'm going to
Merry
click on that
Christmas!
button. Merry fucking Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye-bye, everybody.
Merry Christmas. See you on Christmas stream.
I love you.
See you on the
Bye-bye.
Christmas stream.
Bye-bye. Christmas stream. And New Year's stream, too. We're going to have a New Year's stream coming up as well. Happy New Year's as well.